Hello, freaks. How's it going out there? Looks like he got the sentence. I kind of guessed it would be between 25 and 40, but I thought it'd be better if it was at the greater, the 40 end. But he ended up getting 35 years, Carmelo Anthony, which is shit. He's 18 years old. And what that means is in 17 years-ish, 17 and a half, he'll get to apply for parole. And, I don't know. Texas is probably not like other states, but who knows? If he is who it seems like he is, he probably won't, his behavior in prison won't get him out in 17 years. So, but if he got out in 17 years, he'd only be 35 years old, which to me is ridiculous. They just had a press conference right here that actually showed the twin brother standing there. I think they left. I thought it looked like it was live, so. Yeah, well, it should have been more than 40. 40 is the, like if for murder you can get 5 to 99 years. No, I just thought that's probably what he would get, somewhere between 25 and 40. So there you go. Yeah, let's see. So we have this, they were just standing right there. I don't know. Let's go down here. So right here is where I was kind of reading after I stopped the last show. About 45 minutes later, this popped up on there and said that the jury has a verdict on the Carmelo Anthony sentence. So it already had a verdict of murder, but then there's another verdict for the sentencing. The jury says they have a verdict in the sentencing for Carmelo Anthony. Texas law says a murder conviction is punishable by 5 to 99 years in state prison, but jurors also considered whether the murder was committed under sudden passion. And we know that the jury didn't find that it was sudden passion, because if it was sudden passion, the maximum would have been 20 years. So just based on that logic right there, we know that they didn't consider that it was sudden passion or heat of passion. It was not second-degree murder. It was murder. Hey, thanks, Wild Bill Wassman. And then right up here at 7:30, so just 21 minutes after that notification. At 7:30, the jury returned to the courtroom and delivered the sentence to the judge. And this is NBC5. The judge asked Carmelo Anthony to rise, and his attorney, Mike Howard, put his hand on his shoulder. Judge John Roach then read the jury verdict, and Carmelo did not, hold on. Judge John Roach then read the jury's verdict that Carmelo did not cause Austin Metcalf's death under sudden passion, and sentenced him to 35 years in state prison. Carmelo will have to serve at least half of the sentence before he's eligible for parole. So that means it's possible that he could be 35 years old when he got out and live a full, pretty much a full life. 35 is really sort of like an age where you're sort of normal-ish, like you kind of. But he's going to get out of prison at that time, a hardened, murderer. I don't know. It just seems crazy. The judge asked Carmelo Anthony to rise. Yeah, he put his hand in. He's sentenced to 35 years in state prison. Carmelo will have to serve at least half the sentence before he's eligible for parole. Moments before the jury delivered their sentence, hey, it's 6 Kids UK. All right. With the taco stomp. Hey, thanks, 6 Kids UK. I hope you guys, I'm not an attorney or anything, but I've covered a lot of cases over the years. And I just think I think about things using logic, reason, and common sense. So hopefully that means something. Sometimes when you get defense attorneys on, they overcomplicate stuff. You ever notice that when you're listening to a defense attorney, they get too into, because they're always looking, how can I free this guy? And then other attorneys are the other direction. But if you're just sort of a random, like if you use common sense, logic, and reason, you can just kind of work through cases and I think 35. I was thinking it was going to be 25 to 40 years, which I thought 40 would, it's kind of too low, but I thought that's what they would do. And they did 35, so I had the right range. There was some other people that said 30 to 40, and then there were other people that thought it would be much higher than that. I don't know if you guys remember. I mean, the case I'm about to bring up brings up a lot of anger because they don't like the guy. But the Justin Ross Harris case, right? You remember that one where it was the hot car death? Well, I followed that case from the absolute beginning, even the preliminary hearing. And the state in that case was absolutely the most unethical pile of shit I've ever seen. They were inventing stuff that did not exist to sell to the judge certain things. And it was unbelievable. Oh, he was all the way in there. He was all the way. It was just absolute garbage, what they were doing. And then at trial, it was even worse. Even though I don't like Justin Ross Harris, I think it sucks, when hot car deaths are unfortunately a thing that happens to people when they're distracted. And then you say, well, if I have a child, I'll never be distracted. And that's the same thing that every single person that it happens to says that would never happen to them. It's just, I've had times where I've gone grocery shopping and then they go, oh, well, it's not groceries is different than a kid. It's the same mechanism, though, okay? So I hate when people respond back. So have you ever gone grocery shopping and by the time you got home, you were so engrossed in thought that you forgot all about the groceries in the car. There's something that you got to go do inside, like on your computer or something. And you go inside, and then an hour later you go, holy shit, I forgot my groceries. The ice cream's melted, everything's screwed up. Okay? I've done that twice. And I can tell you that that's the same mechanism that could happen if you had a kid. Now, hopefully when you have a kid, you're more vigilant about it. But it's happened to people, and good parents it's happened to. Not bad. They're not all bad parents. But anyways, the facts in that case showed that it was an accident. He was distracted for reasons that people, don't, there's no reason to appreciate it, but he was like sexting people and doing stuff like that. But he wasn't like this malice, like, I like to punish people that have evil hearts, so in that case, he ended up getting found guilty of malice murder, and it was the most ludicrous, verdict and sentencing I've ever seen in my entire. It was an absolute joke, and I kept telling people that over and over and over again. Just all the different errors and bullshit that the prosecution kept doing in there, and even like putting a fake picture of where the body. Where the child would be sitting, and they moved it over a little bit more so they could, and it was just sick. And when it was all over, I was so angry. But everybody goes, see gray, and guess what? Like last year, it was all overturned because it was garbage, just like I said. So even when you use logic and reason and common sense, eventually the reality comes out. Okay? Now I'm not a big, I'm not like, oh, good job, Justin Ross Harris. Yay, you're awesome. I just like when the truth is out there. Okay? All right? You see what I'm talking about? Oh, yeah? You think so? Why do you think so, B. Landon? Go ahead. Why do you think that? Go ahead. What is it? Just tell me what is it? What did I just say that wasn't true? That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought. All right. Anyways, so the thing is I just look at cases. I look at the facts in the case, put it together. Does it make sense, and so forth. This is one that I didn't follow all the years. I just started looking at it again after the initial, like a year ago or so. And so I'm right here, and yeah, I know. You can just leave them there, though. Don't worry about it. I just want them to respond. They never have a response that's cogent. You know, he doesn't even know the Justin Ross Harris case. You know, Justin Ross Harris is, not a good dude. You know, I mean, I don't know. He doesn't seem like a mean person. He was just like a stupid idiot that was distracted doing stupid things. And he was supposed to be taking his kid to daycare. And then after he took him to breakfast, he got in his car and he drove to work and then went into work. And then even at lunchtime, the guy went to a store with somebody else not in his car. And then when he came back, he threw light bulbs into the driver's side. And then he went back in. But he didn't look, he was just, in his mind, he had dropped the kid off at school. And it's really strange. You should go look it up. And I understand it. If you don't understand it, it'll never make sense. But I'm just trying to tell you that there are cases out there that I think everybody just jumps on the bandwagon of everybody else because they want to be liked, or they don't like the guy. So then and then you don't look at stuff rationally or reasonably. This is one of the ones where you look at, and yeah, geez, here we go again. Oh, I'm in Atlanta area. I can't believe he forgot his. You know what? You're lucky you never forgot yours. Anybody can do it. All right, let's see. Yeah, that was crappy. It sucked that he forgot his kid. Yeah. You know. And yeah, I mean, the stuff that they said, it was crazy. He was freaking out when police showed up in there. And then they told him to calm down, calm down, calm down. They put him in then they put him in the back of the cop car. And then at trial, they used how he was calm against him. Can you believe that? Yeah, he's sitting there yelling, just freaking out, like, oh my God, what happened? And he's freaking out, freaking out. Then they throw him in a cop car. Before they get in, they go, calm down, get in there, get in there. And he gets in there and he's kind of calm. And then they go, see, look how calm he is. I mean, that is incredible that you know, people can pull that shit. And people go, yeah, look at that, how calm he is. You mean after they told him to? Yeah, doesn't that stuff piss you guys off? I mean, that's the stuff that I can't stand. I really can't stand it. Hey, thanks, Wild Bill Wassman up there, and welcome to Katie's Corner with K's. All right, so anyways, here's the, because you can, Jolene. Go look it up. It's called, I mean, I wish people would just educate themselves on it. You know, everybody thinks they're holier than thou, that like it would never happen to them. And guess what? Almost every parent that a hot car death happens to says the exact same thing prior to it happening. So, you know, just get your some people are lucky. I actually went golfing one time with 4 guys. All 3 of the guys that I played with had kids. And they all said at one point, oh, they forgot their kid for about like 20 minutes, but they remembered fast enough. You know, like every one of them. It wasn't like it was. So I bet you in this chat right now, there's people who had left their kid in their car for a little bit, but remembered it within a reasonable amount of time so the kid wasn't in danger, but they won't admit it in here. You see? And that's the truth. All right, here we go. Jury sentences Karmelo Anthony to 35 years in prison. At 7:30, the jury returned to the courtroom and delivered the sentence. And they did not believe in his idiotic, sudden passion, which didn't make any sense at all, because as we talked about on the previous stream, the sudden passion portion required that Austin would have to be the provocateur. But the reality is Karmelo Anthony was found guilty of murder because he was the provocateur. So I don't even know why they added it in there. It's kind of weird. Anyways, I told you that one because it's a case where I just went through it, and every single other person out there, because they wanted to be liked and be cool with all their little buddies, was just like, oh yeah, he intentionally did it. And they're wrong, okay? That's not what happened. They just wanted to be liked by everybody on YouTube. I just go wherever the facts are. I wish sometimes where the truth, the side that like I'm covering and I'm on, is the one that's popular. Like even in the, I mean, it seems like even in the Koberger case, like all the YouTube channels are saying he's innocent. Okay, I'm like the only one really. I mean, there might have been 2 or 3 more, but who was out there saying Koberger did this, for God's sakes. It's so freaking simple. You know, but it isn't popular. It doesn't get the views and everybody, you know, the coolness factor. It's wild. Hey, thanks, Alley Cake. All right, so let's see. We got that one, and then let's go to this one. Victim impact statements to follow sentencing. I always thought that was before. Several people in the gallery are holding pieces of paper or notes, including victim Austin Metcalf's twin brother Hunter. After the sentence is delivered, people will be allowed to deliver victim impact statements. A victim impact statement is an opportunity for victims or survivors to share with the defendant the emotional, psychological, and financial toll of the crime. 2 boys sitting with Hunter are holding papers. Austin and Hunter's father, Jeff Metcalf, is holding a black spiral notebook. A 4th teen, a boy and a girl, are holding their own sheets of paper. Austin's mother and another woman are also holding papers. Thanks, Wild Bill and Alley Cake. I have a feeling I'm not going to get very many people here because this is like the 4th notification today. I did a post also. Know what? Nobody knows what you're saying no to, Nadia. So if you have a no to say, just type in a sentence with the word no. Nobody knows what you're saying. Let's see. All right, so then we go up to the next one. This one is 2 arrests are confirmed outside the courthouse where Karmelo Anthony's murder trial is being held. The Collin County Sheriff's Office says 2 people have been arrested outside the courthouse on Tuesday afternoon. According to the Sheriff's Department, the first arrest was for public intoxication. The second arrest was a warrant arrest for unlawful carrying a weapon. We are still gathering additional information and do not have the individual identifying information available for release. A large crowd of supporters for both the defendant and the victim has been gathering outside the courthouse. Judge formally sentences Karmelo Anthony to 35 years. Okay, so I see. They came back, 35 years, impact statements, and then the judge has the final. With the jury now dismissed, Judge John Roach told the court they needed to formally sentence defendant Karmelo Anthony. Karmelo had been sitting with his head on the table, but stood when the judge asked him to rise. He stood with defense attorney Mike Howard, who didn't know what direction his head was facing, was standing next to him with his hand on his shoulder. Karmelo was looking down when the judge said he was being remanded in the custody of state to begin serving his 35-year sentence. The courtroom was then directed to their seats for the beginning of the victim. Okay, I guess the victim impact statements were after that. So the victim impact statements. Now, it's not 35 years to life. It's not 35 years to life, man. That's not how it works. It's 35 years maximum with parole opportunity after 17. Okay? Yeah, that's not justice for the family, I can tell you that. It's garbage. No, you got it wrong, Liam. That isn't the numbers. You got the numbers wrong. There was a 99-year option. That would have been life in prison, but that still would have been an option for parole after 50, or 49 and a half years. All right. But the reason I was telling you the Justin Ross Harris story is that, on this channel, what you're going to get is, what I think is the reality, the truth of what's going on in cases. So even in that one, when you guys would have all hated what I was saying. You would have just been like, oh, God, oh, God. But when it all comes, the reality comes in, that's what the truth was. And, there's been many cases we've covered, the same thing. My thoughts weren't popular, but then it turns out, what was that? Susan, what was it, Collier? Was her name Susan? That's like the perfect one, right? What's her name? Collier, the lady that like burnt herself alive in the woods. Was it Susan Collier? I don't remember. But that's like the perfect case because every single person watching the show was like, oh, come on, Gray. Oh, Debbie, that's right, Debbie. Everybody was like, oh, yeah, somebody did something to her over and over again. Everybody kept saying it. And even when I thought that she took her own life based on all the information. And then there was a time where I actually called and talked to the sheriff, like the lead investigator guy. And he said that, well, we think it's a homicide because we can't find whatever carried the fuel there. So we can't find it. So then I said, you guys, this is what he's saying. So it sounds like this is a homicide. And then I worked through the case again and I go, man, this just seems like she did it to herself. And then about a week after that, he came forward and said, hey, we found the plastic of the gasoline can. And I was like, and then they ruled it a suicide later. So there you go. All the freaks. You guys remember that, right? You guys were like, oh, come on, Gray, come on. That was it was pretty interesting. It's weird when you think back these different cases out there. But hey, guys, if you can help support the channel, that'd be great. I want to try to make the goal on this show here so that all the work I did during the rest of the day is like helps those other days that we didn't make it. Oh, cool. There you go. Debbie Collier remembered. Jessica Schubach agreed. Why did I say Debbie Collier remembered? Wow. Anyways, judge formally sentences Karmelo. Okay, and then up here, Austin's aunt asked Karmelo Anthony why he didn't just leave. Says Austin was a remarkable young man. A woman who identified herself as Austin's aunt was the first person to deliver a victim impact statement. She said her sister did an amazing job raising Austin, and that April 2nd, the day he was killed, is a day she'll never forget. She said she could still hear the sound of her sister's scream on the other side of the phone, and that it was something she'll never forget. Yeah, that stuff's a nightmare. She's crying now, she said. The woman said she had the responsibility of telling Austin's grandmother that her firstborn grandson was gone. Karmelo's head remains down. I know. I actually was the one who told my mom that my brother died. That's such a shitty feeling, seeing their face after you tell them. Austin's aunt said the impact of his death is permanent and that they feel his absence at every family event and that there is a void that can never be filled. I will forever miss the remarkable young man Austin was, she said, adding, he babysat her daughters and greeted them with the biggest of bear hugs. Austin's aunt lamented the family will never know what his future could have been and said her heart breaks for his, for his twin brother, who will have to live with this his entire life. One question will always be why? Why could you not have just left? She asked. Wouldn't that be great if he got up and said something? I think Karmelo, there's something wrong with that guy, man. He's like mentally deranged. I think that's why they didn't let him get up and testify, because they think he's a loose cannon, man. He's going to start talking weird and, just wasn't going to work. Megan Metcalf, Austin's mother, was the second person to deliver a victim impact statement. She said from the moment her sons were born, they were her world. She described them as two energetic, beautiful souls, but now her house is quiet and only crying is heard at night. Megan said seeing Hunter lose the most important person in his life crushes her as his mother. She said since her son was killed, she's gone to bed at night hoping it was a horrible nightmare. That is sort of a weird thing. If any of you have lost any, I don't think it's the same when you lose like a parent or something, but when you lose a sibling or a friend or something, you always have those weird, like sometimes you just kind of do the dream thing. Like you sort of hope it's a dream. You know, children are supposed to lose parents, so it's sort of naturally you don't feel the same. I mean, unless it's like, you know, you're young and they're young. But like, you know, they're 85 and it's not like that. I remember like, you know, like again, like when my brother died, it's like you spend so much time just thinking, you know, is this real? Like, this is real, you know? I'm never going to see him again. You know, it sucks. I mean, it's horrendous. And then, so this hearing here is sort of a finalization of the death of Austin. You know, it's like Austin died, but he was murdered. And so the last year has been fighting for Austin and never really truly having time to say, hey, you know, let's finally grieve for, you know, Austin dying. I mean, it means that you're immediately battling for justice. And then now that there's been a verdict and sentencing, they can now like do the grieving process, I think. So I think this whole time they're sort of like waiting to exhale, I guess. You know what I'm saying? But hey guys, any chance you guys can help support the channel tonight? This is, I'm trying to reach a goal today, and even, this is the third show, and we're still not even close. So if you guys have the ability to, that would be great, you know? But anyways. She said she thinks about the morning he died. Let's see. Megan said seeing Hunter lose the most important person in his life crushes her as his mother. Hey, look at that. Lanky Tor, 77 months of complete hell. That's 5, 6 years, and 5 months. You're right up there with Linda Moulton Howe. She said she always got a hug and never realized it would be the last time she'd get one from his son. Megan said seeing Hunter lose the most important person in his life crushes her as his mother. Yeah, I mean, identical twins. She said since her son was killed, she's gone to bed at night hoping it was a horrible nightmare. She said she thinks about the morning he died often. She remembers making breakfast and how her son Austin was a morning kid, always in a good mood. She said she always got a hug. Hey, look at that. It's Lanky Tor. Hold on. Isn't it cool about something we did all supposed to do? You might not heard, or maybe you have a person a bit most like. Usually getting angry and all uptight. You can say what I want to spell my name right. All the men guilty is rocking a house. That's what the room was all about. It's me and then tell all your friends that you don't wait till you see me again this way. I can hear from the horse's mouth right then and there. We'll straighten it out. Yeah! Thanks, Lanky Tor. Very cool. Thanks, Lanky Tor. I always do the rap every single time that one comes up there. So, thanks, Lanky Tor. Yeah, I feel bad for the mom, and I mean, it's just the whole thing. It feels similar, you know, same age-ish. You know, my brother was 22, I was 20. He didn't die from somebody stabbing him or anything, but he died like he was playing basketball. His heart started being funny, and he just sort of passed away. You know, I think today he would have lived, but you know, and then you have to tell your my mom and dad had to drive 110 miles from Portland to Eugene, and and then when they didn't have, there was no cell phones back then, so it's like they had hope the whole time that they were driving. And when they get there, I had to tell them, Jesus, man. And I just think about it makes me want to vomit. It's just shit. And it's such a horrible feeling. They had their whole lives ahead of them. Sorry about that, Lanky Tour. Anyways, it's just, I don't know. It just makes me like ill. Makes me just like, ugh. She said since her son was killed, she's gone to bed at night hoping it was a horrible nightmare. She said she thinks about the morning he died often. She remembers making breakfast and how her son Austin was a morning kid, always in a good mood. She said she always got a hug and never realized it would be the last time she'd get one from him. She said Austin was the peacemaker, the protector. No, it was just, I don't know what it was. He had like an irregular, I have an irregular heartbeat myself. Like it's kind of like, I guess now they call it but it's like AFib with irregularities. I mean, it's crazy, but I just take aspirin every day make it thinner. I don't know. It's just, nobody really knows. He had coke, he did coke from time to time back then. Like, that was 1986, it was like pot is now. It was all over the place. And he had some in his system, but it wasn't like a lot or anything. It wasn't from that moment either. It was just like residue. So nobody really knows. But, it is what it is. Yeah. Yeah, saw medicine. Yeah. All right. Shit. Okay, so it was down here. She said she always got a hug. Right. And then she said Austin was the peacemaker, the protector. Megan said some of her favorite days were when she would scratch his back and he would tell her about his day. Austin's mother's tone grew angry as she said her conversations were now one-sided and done sitting in his graveside. There was a part of him you can never take from me, the strength I still get from him every day, because I know what it was like to be loved by him, she said. My son was murdered. He didn't just die, he was taken from us, just as he was starting to live. You may have just been given a sentence of 35 years. You should feel lucky, because I've been sentenced to a life without my son. Megan said to her son's killer. And then, as she left the witness stand, Austin's mother walked past Karmelo, whose head remained down. Yeah, jeez. Yeah, they were saying it was sort of like an enlarged heart on my brother. They did say that. I remember that. I forgot about that. Yeah, so that was 15 minutes ago. So let's see if they added some more since we've been talking here. Yeah, see, that was what I was just talking about. See, there's Hunter right there. Wait, I guess there's a lot more here. Shedder's son was... Okay, so we're right here.
I didn't mean to get sideways with you yesterday.
Hey, you want? Hey, thanks.
I like your show.
Well, thanks,
Been watching for a while.
Thanks, Armadillo. But guess what? I don't even remember that. I mean, I know that. I got to tell you. See, look at the way my show works, just so that you guys know. Like, we're just doing shows. I see a comment or whatever. I don't know. I don't even remember like what it was or who somebody. The next day, we just move on to the next day. You know what I mean? Like we're just don't feel like anything. I always compare it to Thanksgiving dinner. The trolls love that. You compare it to Thanksgiving dinner. When you're sitting around that table and everybody's arguing, people argue about different things. And then after you're sitting there, you might go over and everybody's watching the football game and everybody's talking about something else. It just doesn't, there's there's no hard feelings. It doesn't last or anything like that. So I appreciate you, being here and chatting and whatnot. So thank you. I don't even remember though the sideways. Is that good or bad? I don't know. It's like that's probably good, right? Like you don't want to just keep dwelling. Hey, thanks, Lanky Tour. Hello there, Heather. Anyways, thanks again up there to Armadillo, Texas. By the way, what crazy creature are armadillos, for God's sakes? I mean, where the hell did those come from? They're like half dinosaur, half something. I mean, a lot of weird stuff like that. They should make like a list of the weirdest animals that just don't make sense, really. There are, Gray. I just went one the other day. Well, you make one then. I put platypus, armadillo, probably an eye. You ever seen one of those guys? The eye? The little, it's like a marsupial creature that basically only comes out at night. Big eyes. And has one, like its ring finger is like 5 times longer than the rest of their fingers. And then all it does with the finger is it pokes it into like these fruit things and then pokes it in there and goes, and then like eats it off of its finger. I mean, it's just like, what the hell? That's another weird one, okay? Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, Tasmanian devil sort of, kind of looks like a normal creature. It's the ones that do weird stuff, to survive. Here, just for the hell of it, I'll show you this guy right here. Look at this. Look at that weird freaking... yeah, right there. I don't know if you can see it, but that long thing right there is the finger that's going over there. And then these are the normal fingers. Then there's this one knuckle that's like, maybe it's the middle finger. But they do have opposable thumbs. It's part of, I think, a lemur family. But man, it's, you gotta be kidding me. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that hand right there. So that middle finger right there, imagine that one go out to about 3 times too long. Here's a good picture right there. There you go. So, mildly cute face, but look at this freaking finger right there. Yeah. Anyways. So I'd throw that one on there for sure. All right. Anyways, we're back to this. So Austin's mother she did hers, and then we have the father came up there. Jeff Metcalf gives his victim impact statement while a video slideshow plays showing photos of Austin and his brother Hunter in the background. Metcalf listed all the sports his son Austin played. Don't they normally have impact stuff after or before the verdict so that the judge can sort of weigh what they're saying? I mean, the sentencing, It seems kind of odd that, like, this is all after. Metcalf, Austin's father, Jeff Metcalf, gives his victim impact. Okay, Metcalf listed all the sports his son Austin played and said that watching both his sons on the field at the same time was such a blessing. He spoke of Austin's leadership and how his teammates looked up to him. Metcalf said, They are starting a scholarship in honor of Austin so his legacy can carry on. Well, hey, whenever that comes into existence, let me know. We'll see if we can throw some of our money into that. They're starting a scholarship in honor of Austin so his legacy can carry on, so others can carry on his legacy. He said his father carried him. He says his faith, carried him to heaven. Metcalf says they were robbed, and then tells Karmelo Anthony, don't look down. Metcalf continued to address Anthony, saying since day one that this was never about race or politics. But what did you choose to do? Both. He also said that it was about right or wrong, and that's it. He tells Anthony that he will face those consequences starting today. Metcalf says, if you ask me what my son's death did to me, I would tell you it destroyed the person I used to be. He does not exist anymore. My son's death didn't just break my heart, my faith in people. I think it said, my son's death didn't just break my heart, it broke my faith in people is probably what it meant to say. Metcalf hit the podium while giving his impact statement. Anthony has not looked up during Metcalf's statement. Metcalf says that Anthony failed his parents, himself, and society, and that you don't belong in this community. Well, I'd also say, you could make an argument his parents, the thing is I don't know how they raised him or anything. I actually don't know. Now, somebody said that in the other show, and I was like, well, let's not blame the parents, but I don't know. The fact that the parents are running around trying to make it about race, etc., shows you that they're not good parents. His parents are just trash, in my opinion. If you're going to go around and try to make it about race and politics and when the facts all the time showed that your son murdered Austin Metcalf. That's it. There isn't some kind of, there's no other angle. There's no little twist to it, it is what it is. Let's see. Which one is this one? That's the father. And then Karmelo looks at Hunter, who says, you took a son, a brother, a friend, and my best friend from this world. So Hunter spoke. Wow. The fourth person to give a victim impact statement was Austin Metcalf's twin brother, Hunter. Hunter started by asking Karmelo Anthony to look up, to be respectful, and to look him in the eye. Karmelo, who had been looking down during the victim impact statements, looked up. That's good on him. I'll give him a little credit for that. Hunter said that for the last year, he'd been trying to learn to forgive and had been turning to God to understand why his brother had to go. You took a son, a brother, a friend, and my best friend from the world, Hunter said, getting emotional. You took someone from me who was supposed to be an uncle, godfather to my kids. Now I want everything taken from you. Hunter told Karmelo he wanted him to think about the pain he causes, or probably caused the Metcalf family. It says causes, but well, you could have said that, I guess. The pain he causes the Metcalf family as ongoing. Hunter told Karmelo that he let the devil take him over in that moment, and that he would eventually be forgotten, but that his brother's legacy would never be forgotten. Hunter said his mother cries herself to sleep, and that he wakes up every day with his brother's bedroom door still shut, and that he can't talk to him anymore. Hunter then steps down from the witness stand and is hugged by friends. The family then leaves the courtroom. The judge instructs that Karmelo Anthony be taken into custody, and he's removed from the courtroom. Man, that's wild. You know, I mean, it's not wild. It's just like, God, it's just such a shitty... And that's him right there. Hunter. Looks just like him. I mean, obviously they're identical twins. It's so weird. You know, it's funny. Well, not funny. Yeah, that's stupid choice of word. I was thinking about identical twins. You know, the only organ, basically, that he got stabbed in, is the only one where his twin brother couldn't have helped out. Really. I mean, like, you could have, let's say, his liver got stabbed, and you could actually take part of Hunter's liver and give it to him. You could take a kidney and give it to him. You could take this and that, you know, everything. And he wouldn't even need anti-rejection drugs to do that because it's exactly the same DNA. But the heart was the one thing that couldn't be replaced because one would have to die. Isn't that weird? The family of Austin Metcalf joined prosecutors at a press conference at the conclusion of the Karmelo Anthony murder trial on Tuesday. Let's see. Collin County District Attorney Greg Willis delivered the following statement. Today, justice was served a year ago when this senseless murder unfolded. I said that it had struck a deep nerve in Collin County and far beyond. I asked our community to ignore all the noise and instead be level-headed and patient at the process and patient as the process worked. And today, the process delivered accountability. We are grateful to this jury, and we are grateful that the good citizens of Collin County had an opportunity to weigh in on this case. I'm proud of the exceptional work of Bill Werski and our team of prosecutors, DA investigators, and victim advocates, and all the good and outstanding men and women of the Collin County District Attorney's Office. We thank all the parents and their brave kids who did the right thing, despite the trauma of witnessing the senseless murder at school track meet. They cooperated fully and testified truthfully. Their courage was essential to securing justice in this case. I'm especially honored to be joined here today by Jeff and Megan Metcalf and their son Hunter. Their strength and grace throughout this unimaginable journey has been inspiring. They won't be taking questions at this time, but their presence here speaks volumes about their commitment to seeking justice for Austin. Looks like there's some people arguing down there. I want to thank Judge Roach for presiding over the trial with fairness and efficiency. I want to thank Frisco PD for their investigation. I want to thank the Collin County Sheriff's Office, led by Sheriff Skinner, for providing the security for the courthouse. I want to thank all law enforcement throughout the country for making this a safe trial for everyone. This verdict sends a clear message. Violence like this won't be tolerated in our Collin County community, and we remain committed to protecting our schools and standing with victims and their families. And this is exactly what it looked like when it was live. They were just standing there like that. I feel really bad for him. I know how long it just takes forever. You know, it takes like years, 3, 4, 5 years before you sort of start feeling like you're kind of normal again. And I think it's even worse for parents, because you're not supposed to lose your child, and they gave birth to you, and they remember every single thing, all the way up until when you die, they remember everything. I think for my mom, it was like, I don't know, yeah, it seemed like 6, 7 years. Sometimes I just hear her crying somewhere. Sucks. Anyways, where's the... Oh, there it is over here. Let's see what this guy said. JD Miles on Twitter. But hey guys, any chance you guys can help support the channel? We had a little bit going on up there a while ago, but massive lull time. So we need to try to reach the goal on this show, and then all the other hard work, the time put in earlier today might actually lead to making up for the 3 completely almost like 40% days. Oh, wow, they cut his hair real quick there. Looks better, actually, than that one. All right, let me go down here. The jury has been deliberating. Okay. Breaking, jury has reached a decision and sentenced Karmelo Anthony, who was convicted earlier today. Decision will be announced at 7:10. A Collin County jury sentenced Karmelo to 35 years. Apparently that's the new picture right there. New mugshot of Karmelo Anthony in the Collin County Jail as he spends the first night of his 35-year sentence for murder. He will likely be transported to prison in the coming days. Well, there you go. That's it. Thanks, Wild Bill Wassman. He must be the only one that hears me sometimes. It's amazing. All right. Well, you guys have any thoughts on that, or?
Turn to the courtroom, and we will all learn what the decision is.
Yeah. What's that one? Oh, I guess we can. Well, this
Today,
is the video.
Justice was served. A year ago, when this senseless murder unfolded,
I mean, it's the same thing we just read. Oh, yeah? Awesome. Well, does anybody want to call in on this one and tell me what your thoughts are? You could try it. Here is the phone number. Right there. All right, who wants to do it? Your face isn't on the screen or anything. You're just talking like it's a phone. You just make sure to turn down your audio and on the video and just talk. All right, so let's see. Man, you guys are already dead in the chat, you know. Remember how I always tell you guys when you're not commenting and you're just sitting there? This is when it's like, okay, you know, it's not interesting for me if you guys aren't communicating in there. All right? So I need you guys to be talking and chatting. Okay, it doesn't always have to be Jason, right? You know, I'd like other people to call in too. It's not like the Jason Bourne show. It's like, it's my show. I like when he calls in, but I like when everybody calls in. So let's have other people call in sometimes. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah. Yeah, 35. I mean, I thought it was going to be 25 to 40, although I thought he should get more because if he can get out in 50% of the time, you know what I mean? Our parents were in the pub. I don't know what that means, Liam. We had the PlayStation, Pringles, bananas, and Huey's all good. I don't know what that means. Yeah, he does. Yeah, that's the thing, Wild Bill. The murder in Texas is whatever year you get, you're available for parole at 50% of the time. So if you get, for example, in this case, he got 35 years. That means in 17 and a half years, he'll be up for parole. And if he gets out, he'll be 35 and a half. I mean, it's like, that's why it just seems total bullshit. You know, it's like, that's just 35. I mean, that means you got to live a whole life, really. You know? Yeah, it's crazy, though. I mean, that's why it doesn't seem right. They should have had it to the point where he's 50 if he gets out on parole. And so that would mean about 70 years. I'd say, let's see. Well, if he's 18 now, so you need to have 65 years in prison. That's what he should have got. And then that would have got him out at the age of 50, which is still, hey, you got to live some life and that kind of thing. Instead, he's out at 35. I mean, God, that was a... Put a 1 if 35 sounds great to any of you, man. That sounds awesome. I wish I could be 35 again. You know what I'm saying? So it's not good. It's not fair. You know? I'm glad that they didn't accept the second-degree murder, or, you know, I'm not sure what was the term again? It was the heat of passion, you know. I'm glad he didn't accept that, because that would have been 20, and he would have been out at 28 years old if they, you know, the maximum, he would have been out at 38. I mean, does that seem fair at all? That would be the maximum. So if he got out, like, you know, 11 or 12 years because he had a good prison stint, he'd be out at 30 if he'd gotten that one. However, he got 35 years, which, you know, if it was a hard 35, that would be more reasonable. You know, hard 35, where he's not getting out until 35 years. That would be 35 plus 18, 53. Okay, that's like, okay, you know, that's a long time. You're sort of in the later years of your, you know, I mean, although 50 isn't old anymore, it just is what it is. And all of his, you know, the testosterone levels would probably drop a little bit. He's not going to be the same psycho, maybe. I mean, it's hard to say, because prison can turn you into a monster, you know, too. So he's already got the monster in him. What's it going to do now? Yeah, the parents, I mean, I wonder how much, like, the little spokespeople got. You know, the ones that are always running around pretending it's racism. The speakers. Did they get a big chunk of that $600,000? And then, by the way, why was it able to be used to buy anything other than his defense team? I don't understand any of that. My blown hammy says 50. I pulled a hamstring I remember when I was like 35 or so. 30, well, not even that. Like, let's see. Yeah, probably like 30. That was the first time I did that. All right. Do I have to say it again now, you guys? If you guys can please help support the channel. I need your guys' support on here. We got to try to reach the goals. We are currently at, for tonight's show, about 35%. So I need your guys' support. All right. So if you can buy some channel memberships, super chats, whatever the hell it is, that would be great. My channel has donated $297,000 since January of 2020, and that comes from ad revenue, the super chats, etc. My channel makes an income, obviously, but I donate thousands of dollars. All right, so let's try to help the channel out so we can continue. Last month we were only able to give out $2,500. So Wild Bill Wassman's trying a wave right now, you guys. You see that? So let's see if you guys can follow that and help support the channel. And let's have it not always be the same people. Wild Bill Wassman and Alley Cake help my channel out all the time. All right, so let's try to get other people to realize we do a lot of great stuff here. We just had another DNA solve from the money that we put in. All of you guys support the channel, and we wouldn't be able to do any of that without you guys. We've put over $115,000 into the DNA fund. We have $24,000 in scholarships allocated. We're already building up on another scholarship. It's the scholarship is in honor of the fallen freaks. Anybody that's been a member, part of the channel and passed away, that's who it's called the Fallen Freak Scholarship Fund. We have that. Then we've given over $100,000 total to Texas Tech Research, Rain, and NCMEC, probably 110. All right, so I need your guys' support. As I can see, it's Wild Bill Wassman and Alley Cake again, and not another soul jumped in there. So let's see if you guys can do that. That would be great. And we had some earlier, we had Lanky Tor and Armadillo and then, Wild Bill again. And, it's like, so let's see if some of the rest of you can help support the channel. This is my third show today, and it's just not really that great of a day, even with 3 shows. So it's pretty frustrating. It's one of those days where we could try to make up for some of the bad ones, but it's like talking to a brick wall. No response. All right, so what are we going to do now? I guess nobody's calling in, so go ahead and turn that off. I know, I did 3 shows. And each show was just kind of blah, blah, blah. Barely got through that. Hey, thank you very much, MS Milers, for the cause. Thank you. And there's Breeze Girl. Thanks, Breeze Girl. And Miss Milers. Is that what it is? Miss Milers? Miss Miss Millar. And Breeze Girl. Thank you. Hey, at least there was 2 new names. I like that. Okay, so thank you guys. See that, you guys? Look at that. We got this one and this one. 2 new people. Oh, MSM Liars. Okay. See, that's what I'm always talking about. There's always a way that you could twist something around. Yes, MSM are liars. I can tell you that. They're the ones that in the Trayvon Martin case said, or it was MSNBC, not, they're the one that said that they completely edited the 911 call in the Trayvon Martin case to bolster their claim that George Zimmerman was racist. That was like the first case that I remember. That's when all this shit started, right here. The George Zimmerman case. You know what I'm saying? Coming after our organization, they didn't like us much. MSM liars. All right. Awesome. I'm just trying to figure, what do you guys want to do then? I don't really have much more to say about this, really. It's over. It's done. What's next? We could do that other case if you want now, I guess. Let's see. Hey, Jim Lawn, what's going on? My Father's Alibi, that one. We started doing it yesterday, but it was so late. But I'm just trying to figure out if anybody would be interested in that on this one. And then maybe I could cut it out and make it its own video or something. Bard's Fest in St. Louis during COVID. Cool. I don't know if there's been any riots or anything. I guess I could go on to, like, let's see, is there anything on Facebook or something, or? Okay, that's kind of a funny picture, I gotta admit. That one right there. Oh boy. Yeah. Yeah, we gotta watch out there, Karmelo. Alright, let's see. Is this happening right now? It's light outside. It's not light outside over there.
You cross your arms, but you aren't gonna approach him one time like
You know what's weird is, like, these people are angry that a guy who stabbed somebody and killed him has to spend time in jail. Jesus.
We gotta tell our kids the truth that this is a racist ass country. We gotta tell them the truth.
It's a racist country because a black person killed a white person and he should have got away with it? Is that what makes it racist? I'm not sure. I'm confused.
Who don't get stop that cool ass shit? Nobody wanna hear about what we do to each other. We talking about what they doing to us. White folks kill white folks. Mexicans kill Mexicans. We ain't trying to hear no cool.
Right. But in this case, a black person killed a white person. And you seem upset that he got jail time, prison, for that.
Shit today. Go over there with them white folks with that. This is a racist ass country.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is this case has absolutely nothing to do with race, other than the fact that the two people have different races. Race wasn't part of what happened, unless Karmelo had that in his mind, because he was sitting over there underneath the tent. He could have, his friend was maybe there or whatever. But, he was asked to leave because it wasn't his team's tent. That's it. And it had nothing to do with race. It was just like, what are you doing here? If it was a white guy wearing the other team's uniform, they would have asked him to leave too. But that guy might have just got up and left. Karmelo didn't, because he had a backpack that had a knife in it. And he was couldn't wait to use the damn thing. He kept saying, hey, touch me and see what happens. Okay, hey, hit me a little harder than that. Okay, boom, I mean, what a loser, Yeah.
In a racist ass state.
Hey, thank you, Cheryl Bullock. Hey, Cheryl Bullock followed me on Twitter, and then I followed Cheryl Bullock. How's it going? Man, thank you for always, supporting the channel. When you come in, you're always like, yep, here's the membership. I appreciate it. Just like Wild Bill Wassman and Alley Cake. Wild Bill Wassman, he's a lull killer. Like, he literally kills the lull. Like, you could have a lull for 20 minutes, and there comes Wild Bill Wassman jumping into the rescue, killing the lull. Oh, jeez. What a bunch of losers. I mean, my God.
rise concerns among supporters and community in law enforcement
This is the guy right here. He stoked all this shit.
agencies. There is no such place. There is no such place for this type of behavior.
What? You mean a kid stabbing somebody? Yeah, you're right.
We even have saw the white nationalist Jake Lang come out here and say insinuatory threats to the life of
Insinuary? What the hell's that?
Karmelo Anthony, to hang from a tree, and even to allude that.
Yeah, so here's what happens. You get these race-baiting assholes like this who go out and pretend it's a racial case and everything. And yes, then that probably then entices the actual racist people out there to show up and make stupid comments. Then they can say, see? It's like the classic passive-aggressive crap. You know what I'm saying? It's unbelievable.
Karmelo Anthony should be shot in the head. Our organization asked that the Collin County District Attorney's Office, as well as the Sheriff Department and the McKinney Police Department, open up a criminal investigation to those terroristic threats. There is no place for racism, bigotry, and white supremacy ideology in public discourse. What concerns me most is the disagreement is healthy in a democracy. What concerns me is normalizing hate. What concerns me...
You know what's weird is he's bitching about these things that aren't related to the trial. Like this guy shows up and because you said it was race, and then maybe a white supremacist shows up and says these different things. But what does it have to do with the case? It doesn't. See, that's why they do this shit. You know, they pretend that it's a racial issue, and then everybody starts talking about some other sort of ancillary event or something, and has nothing to do with this case at all. Like, I haven't heard him mention anything about the case yet, have you? Like, he hasn't said a damn thing about the case.
Is the attempt to use fear, intimidation to influence public opinion.
That's what you're doing. That's all you've done is when you accuse people of being racist, they're scared to talk because they don't want to be perceived as racist. Yeah, that shit doesn't work anymore, man.
I cannot speak for just the Anthony family, but I just want everybody. We even are aware of an individual that came 2 to 3 hours away just to start something.
You mean, but you started it.
We know this is going on, and we ask that everyone who is out
he's
here
really Karmelo Anthony,
exercising your First Amendment right to do it
He's
peacefully.
the instigator, the provocateur.
There is a trial where a child's life is on the line, and we, the Next Generation Action Network, continue to ask that you respect it. We called on this.
I'm surprised he didn't hold up a plaque, you know, for his organization.
About a month before this trial started, letting the public know that there will be individuals that only soul is to create chaos.
I want to listen to this one. I like this lady here.
Just found out, as you mentioned, that Karmelo Anthony has been found guilty of murdering Austin Metcalf. I'm going to step out of the way so you can see what's going on right now. It looks like we have a fight that's happening. I mean, we've expected this, Martha. The last few days, security here has been on standby.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's something in Portland, you know, because Portland just, oh, yeah, hey, this is a good night.
Waiting for this verdict in anticipation that supporters might get rowdy, and we're trying to move a little bit closer while staying safe, of course, to see what it looks like is happening. It looks like there is some sort of fight here. I do want to mention we are surrounded by deputies here to make sure that things don't get out of control.
All right, back to this case.
And it's imperative. We ask
you know what I was wondering? Why do all of these guys that do the
remember that there is a family,
you know, basically like black liberation
I know
theology,
there's both sides.
bullshit like this guy?
I'm not
How
trying
come
to get
they
into all of that.
always sound like a preacher?
But I ask you, for the sake of Karmelo Anthony and whoever you are out here for,
yeah, that's very
do it in
vulgar.
peace. Do it in revolutionary peace. And for the other side, they may not agree with me.
I'm just going to ask.
But I'm not out
somebody.
here to
That's
create
weird.
physical altercation
I've been,
or yet
working
go back
on
into
early
banter
shift
with
doing-
you.
okay,
There's
so
a
you're
trial.
doing- hey, cool.
And our organization is asking
Lanky
that you
tour.
respect these grounds
Hey, don't say
to
stuff
ensure
like that, MSN.
that this
We
trial
don't
can
do
go
that
without interference. We know that the judge has put a lot of different precautions around this trial. And our organization have had to respect his decision. And we ask that everyone respect
Yeah, he was. Martin
the
Luther
decision.
King was great, you know, but he was one of a kind. You know, it's like that's his deal. So you know, why pretend to imitate him?
We know that people have traveled all across this country, and we thank you for that.
Yeah, and it's 35 years maximum, right? You get what I'm saying? It's 35 years maximum. Eddie Almond Sounds. Yeah, it's 35 years maximum, so 17 and a half years he can get out on parole. All right, here we go.
But we remain to continue to ask you, do it in revolutionary peace. Do it as if your child was fighting for his life right now.
What?
Please.
Your
Please.
child fighting for your life. What about do it for your child that was killed? Fighting for your life. He makes it sound like Karmelo Anthony's the victim here. Jesus.
What we've seen,
What a joke.
it seems like more attention has been given on what's going outside the court than what is going on in the court. And I have to say something. NGAN has been here from the beginning. We asked you to do it in peace. Karmelo asked you to do it in peace. Thank you. Any questions?
Are you concerned that what's happening out here is going to leak inside?
I think it's already leaked inside. It's all,
there you go. He says, you think that stuff was happening out here is going to leak inside? It already has, meaning that's how the verdict is the way it was, because it leaked inside. I bet you, I think the majority of the population, I don't know, what was it? Because I wasn't following it all the time. Were more people on YouTube and in the media like pro Karmelo Anthony? I just know what I was. I don't have, that's what I'm saying. Like when we started covering the trial 4 or 5 days ago, last week, and I just, looking at the factual elements of the case that came out, it seemed quite clear that he was the primary aggressor, and that if anybody had killed anybody, if Austin Metcalf had killed Karmelo Anthony, it would have been justified because he was the victim in this case. So based on the behavior of, the verbal threats combined with reaching into his backpack, had Austin then applied lethal force right at that moment, it would have been justified. There is no justification on Karmelo Anthony's side here at all. Yeah, but it's going to come across that way, right? MSN, that's just the way it is, That's just how you can't, you know what I'm saying? It's just that it's not going to, you can say what you say it means, but Karmelo is going to get ashed in jail. Let's see. What's he going to, yeah, no problem. What's he going to tell Bubba in prison when he asks to move? He's going to say, look in my backpack. I ain't from Frisco. Yeah.
Got it on camera. Walked out. But you know what happened? When you went
He murdered that kid.
What's up? He assaulted that man. I was standing right there. He assaulted that fucking man.
Yeah.
He came out here raised baiting and he pushed him.
He was actually on Austin's side, this guy. Oh God, he made it. He's there. Oh Jesus, man, I gotta go to any guy, any.
Hey, we'll send him in there. Send Karmelo out.
Man, he shows up everywhere, man. JLR, man, that guy is just any.
Hey, tell the other parties to bail you out. Tell them to bail you out.
I kind of figured he'd go there. That's just crazy. I don't know what the hell that was.
Get into your car. Look at you, you little bitch.
Do these 7 simple exercises after waking up.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the hell's going to show up on the next one. All right, well, what's next? I don't know. Hey, there's Benny running around down there. Let's see. Yeah, it seems really... Well, let's see if we can find something out on... maybe YouTube or something. Weird. Yeah, that's crazy. You know, get this the guy that goes to any. Well, that's the one I wanted to go over. The case with the from 1982. That we're going to go over last night. I'm not sure if anybody would be interested in that, but I just kind of want to do it. Isn't that crazy? JLR goes there and gets 400,000 views. I mean, Jesus, just unreal. The guy can't think his way out of a shoebox, but boy, he goes there and all of a sudden... Let's see. I got a message earlier. All right. I know, it's bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. You know, I'm doing a show, and I thought we covered it really well and just nailed it, and we get like 150 people watching. And then a clown with like 1,000 different... I mean, the guy, it's just unreal. I don't know how that works. I guess one day maybe we'll figure something out, you know. Anyways, so the case is the Yeah, that Nancy Galvani. It's not really, it's a cold case, but it's not really cold anymore. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I don't know what he does. Not sure. Hey, welcome, Jeffrey Siddall. Do you guys want to do that at all, or? I said that. Just a second. That's the case out of San Francisco. I just wanted to read what they have on him in that document. Yeah, so you guys, maybe you guys will think it's interesting. I'm reading through a bail document that actually lays out the case of one that we covered a year and a half, 2 years ago. Nancy Galvani, and the daughter is Allison Galvani, who was 5 years old at the time, but remembers certain things. And my channel, along with some other people out there, we covered it, making videos and videos and videos, and it ended up opening the case back up with the prosecutors, and now they finally arrested her father. I mean, she did this knowing that her father killed her mother back in 1982. And it's a case that was so clear just by reading the basic information that's out there. But for some reason, he got to live his life for 44 years. Just ridiculous. Yeah. So if you guys, I'd like to go over it myself. Yeah, it's like right here. I mean, we could probably just start over again, I guess, from last night. First bail, the opposition, the first, I think this one is right here. All right, you guys, here we go. I might cut this portion out, but I mean, to make another show out of it. Hold on. I don't know what why my nose is sort of plugged up. All right. Well, here's what I'll do. I'll zoom in so you guys can see it. But if you notice, my words aren't on the screen anymore because I don't have the other version. You know, like if I don't even have to explain it. So here's the statement of facts. Well, let's do the introduction here. It says, since November 24th, 2025, the defendant, Patrick Vincent Galvani, has been detained in the San Mateo County without bail. So that's not even that long ago. That is like 7 months ago, right? So that's how it's been since 1982. He hadn't been arrested, or he was arrested early on, but they let him go. He currently is housed at the Maple Street Correctional Facility. Mr. Galvani is not a threat to public safety, and detention is not appropriate or necessary to ensure Mr. Galvani honors his obligation to the court. On the morning of November 2nd, 2025, Mr. Galvani was arrested in connection with the 1982 death of his former wife, Nancy Galvani. Let me see. So there was a response, opposition to bail. So that was the defense putting that one out, and then the prosecution had opposed it, and then he wasn't allowed bail, which is rare. So I guess what we could do is let's just go over the facts on this one. All right. So it says right there, statement of facts. This is the prosecution, their version, so I would, probably believe more what's in this one than what the defense one would say. Gray, you're just a shill. Yeah. Well, I do. I actually tend to believe law enforcement until something proves that they said something that was incorrect. And it's meaningful, like a meaningfully incorrect statement. Then it's like, okay, well, let's see now. Let's see what the reality is. Yeah, you live kind of down there, don't you, Lanky Tor? Here, hold on a second. Yeah. I hate when people immediately discredit what law enforcement says in cases, as if they're all corrupt and every one of them comes up with a fake story. It seems like every case that's big, you have an entire contingency of people that want to try to make it something else. It's weird. Oh, there goes my stomach. But hey, guys, don't forget to help support the channel tonight while we're going through this. We need to try to reach the goal in here. That would be great. We are at 50. We did get to 50%-ish, So we did get to 50%. And it would be great if we could, make it. So here we go. On Monday, August 9th, 1982. I'll get in the city here. We're right here in the city. And, all right, just like that. At approximately 12:20 p.m., so this is on the 9th, 3 fishermen operating a small boat in the San Francisco Bay south of San Mateo Hayward Bridge made a grisly discovery. A witness observed a large object floating near a piling, and upon closer inspection, realized it was a human body encased in a sleeping bag. The Foster City Police Department, San Mateo County Crime Lab, and San Mateo County Coroner's Office responded to the scene to recover the remains. The recovering officers observed that the body was that of an adult female, clothed only in a pair of underwear, women's briefs. The victim, who was initially unidentified, had been placed inside a green side-zip sleeping bag. So at this time, they didn't know who she was. She was secured with ropes and weighed down by a heavy concrete cinder block. The configuration of the weights suggested a deliberate effort to sink the body, which had only surfaced after the configuration shifted underwater. So she was meant to be held down underwater. And then, let's see. That says, the body was transported to the San Mateo County Coroner's Office, where an autopsy was performed. Thanks, Wild Bill Wassman. By Arthur Lack. Dr. Lack determined that the victim's cause of death was asphyxiation due to strangulation. The examination further revealed significant trauma, including a fractured vertebrae and a skull fracture to the left temple area. Based on the condition of the remains, Dr. Lack estimated that the body had been submerged in the water for approximately 12 hours. That means she was put in the water on the 8th. So placing the time of death between noon and midnight on Sunday, August 8th, 1982. Initially, the decedent, so just remember, August 8th, 1982, between noon and midnight on the 8th. Initially, the decedent was classified as a Jane Doe due to the absence of identification on the body. A composite sketch was generated and disseminated to local media outlets. On Friday, August 13th, 1982, so there was a sketch put out there. So let me see. I found it yesterday. Yeah, oh, wow, I got lucky. First one I pulled up. So these are the newspaper articles that I brought out. Let me tell you, like we did this. I can tell you the exact date that we covered this originally by looking at the date on this, and it is November 10th, 2024. So we talked about this almost, we're getting, a year and a half ago is when we first covered this case. So this is before anybody was arrested or anything, but it says, husband reports wife missing after body found in bay. There's the sketch, but he didn't report her until friends called him and said, hey, this lady looks like your wife. And he goes, oh, okay, I mean, he's just a total, he's a loser. Okay, so so they believe the woman in the sketch was their tenant. Now let me go back up here. On Friday, August 13th, 1982, Nella Mae Tanner and Catherine Merschel, co-managers of the Civic Center Residence Club Hotel in San Francisco, contacted authorities. They believe the woman in the sketch was their tenant. Nancy Galvani, who had been missing since the evening of August 8th. So there you go. Look at that. That's when she went missing. 1982. Detectives transported Tanner and Merschel to the morgue, where they positively identified the decedent as Nancy Patricia Galvani. This identification was independently confirmed through a comparison of the victim's fingerprints to those on file with the Department of Motor Vehicles. An investigation into the victim's death revealed a volatile history between the victim and the defendant, who was her husband. In June of 1982, approximately 2 months prior to her death, the victim moved into the Civic Center. So that means they were, they're going to get a divorce. He had been violent with her. In fact, he actually smothered her with a pillow and tried to strangle her, and then he admitted doing it, but saying that she was just yelling, and he tried to get her to be quiet. I mean, what an idiot. In June of 1982, approximately 2 months prior to her death, the victim moved into the Civic Center Residence Club Hotel with her 5-year-old daughter, Allison. She had fled the marital residence at 1871 Green Street. So they lived right here. So here we go, in San Francisco. You drive down, and this house right there is 1871. All right. So it's kind of interesting. Just kind of remember what we're looking at here with the garage doors and everything. So this is 1871. And then they also owned this one right here, 1865, and rented it out to people. That's just my memory, I'm telling you. She had fled the marital residence at 1871 Green Street in San Francisco due to ongoing domestic violence and after a particularly brutal assault perpetrated by the defendant. And it says, prior to the hotel, she had sought refuge at Raphael House, a shelter for battered women. Witnesses at both locations described Nancy as fearful of the defendant and deeply concerned about his controlling behavior and threats. The victim had filed a petition for dissolution of marriage in San Francisco. So this is Nancy Galvani, filed for divorce in San Francisco on June 17th, 1982. So we're talking about, this is just 2 months prior to this. Listing the date of separation as June 16th, 1982. In her declaration supporting a temporary restraining order, she detailed a history of abuse, specifically citing an incident in April of 1982 where the defendant struck her with a fist and placed a pillow over her face to prevent her from screaming. The defendant filed responsive declarations. So that means, the Patrick Galvani said his response was in his declaration, in which he admitted to the physical altercation. In his own words, the defendant wrote, "I then pushed her away and she fell into the kitchen counter. I put a pillow on her face to quiet her down, to deaden the noise for our neighbors." The couple were in the middle of the contentious divorce when the victim disappeared. The victim had requested primary custody of Allison, spousal support, and a division of the couple's real estate holdings, which include 1871 and 1865 Green Street. So both of those homes. But I see that nobody's typing in again, and we're not getting any support. So, hey, you guys, we need you guys to help support the channel. We are still just barely over 50% of the nightly goal. So if you guys have the ability, maybe do a challenge of some sort. You know, 2 challenges would do pretty good. If we get 2 or 3, we need 3, like normal challenges to get to the goal. So if somebody could do 1, that would be great. Oh, we had a challenge up there? I didn't see that. Who did one? Who did a challenge? I didn't see it. Is there one in there? Let's go, freaks. 4 more gifted memberships needed. I don't see anything. I don't see look at or anything. Is there anything up there? Yeah, I don't see it. Who did a challenge up there? I don't see it. Oh, Jim Lawn did one? All right, you guys. Well, Jim Lawn has I got 5 on it. So what we need is 4 more gifted channel memberships, and then he'll donate 5 all by himself. Okay, so that's how it works. That's how it's a big support for the channel. It's 2 for 1 on your end, and then he'll support the channel. Well, nobody typed in look at. That's what I see when there's a challenge. Yeah, it's up there. Lanky Tor. So what we need is 4 gifted channel memberships, and then we'll have reached that goal. All right. Anyways, right. So she wanted to divide the marital assets, including and selling those 2 homes. Division of the couple's real estate holdings. All right. Financial records and court filings indicate significant financial distress for the defendant. He had quit his job in May of 1982, so just a month before all that, to start a new business called Abbott, Galvani and Associates, and reported negative monthly income. He claimed he could not afford to move out of the shared apartment unless the victim paid his living expenses, and resisted the divorce, stating he should not have to vacate the property. Yeah. Additionally, the victim had previously discovered, and guess what, you guys? The only way that we can reach the challenge is if people actually do the challenge. You know, just talking about it doesn't do anything. Additionally, the victim had previously discovered the defendant's involvement in an illegal financial project. So that means Nancy noticed something that was illegal, like it was an illegal financial project, which had precipitated her demand for a divorce. Hey, thanks, Jeffrey Siddall. All right, just 3 more now. The timeline immediately preceding the homicide centers on a custody exchange. So this is where it gets this is where it's interesting. So listen to all this stuff. The timeline immediately preceding the homicide centers on a custody exchange of the couple's daughter, Allison. So Allison was 5 years old. She's been on my show. She's, you know, an adult now. I think she works at like Harvard or, you know, one of these places. I can't remember which one it was. And one of the Ivy League schools as a infectious disease expert. I mean, she's like kicks ass. But she always had this nagging thing that she knew that her father killed her mom, and she's been fighting for justice for years. Hello, everyone. Okay, do you guys see that up there? We got 2 people that have joined in on Jim Lawn's challenge. We need 3 more. This is where it gets frustrating for me on the channel, because it's just so hard even to just do those. So if we could do that, that would be great. Thank you. Because I don't want to spend time trying to like shepherd a challenge through when it just should be you guys see it and go, okay, cool, let's help the channel out. And, you know, if you like my channel and you want it to survive, then that would be great. We do a lot of great things here. let's see. Where the hell was that? Oh, yeah, right here. So this is where it's interesting. So on the evening of Sunday, August 8th, 1982, that's the same night that she was killed, the victim assisted in setting up the party at the hotel. Or am I missing part? I think I scrolled down. Oh, yeah, this is where we're supposed to start. The timeline immediately preceding the homicide centers on a custody exchange, right? Because they shared custody of the daughter, Allison. On Thursday, August 5th, 1982, the victim, Nancy, dropped Allison off at the defendant's residence at 1871, the one I just showed you, Green Street, for the weekend. The agreed upon plan was for the victim to pick Allison up on Monday, August 9th. However, on August 7th, the defense, so like, just think about it like this. Nancy was supposed to pick up Allison on August 9th. Okay? But on August 7th, the defendant, Pat Galvani, contacted the victim and altered the arrangement. He insisted she pick Allison up on Sunday, August 8th. Again, the same day that she was killed. And he said to pick her up at 8 p.m. at their house, the one that they used to live at 1871 Green Street, to pick her up at 8 o'clock. The defendant claimed this exchange was necessary due to a sudden business trip requiring him to take a midnight flight. The victim was upset by this demand, as she had organized a taco party for the residents of her hotel scheduled for the same Sunday evening. So she was supposed to have this party. She was like, oh, I can't do it. I already arranged the party. And then it says, a diary. Hey, thanks, horse Keith, cow teeth. Good to see you again. A diary found in the victim's room contained an entry dated August 7th, 1982, corroborating this conflict. So she actually kept a diary. You guys following along here? You see how, like, she was called on the 7th to, let's see. So on the 7th, he said, hey, you got to pick her up tomorrow at 8 p.m., but she already had a taco party planned, but she was going to do it anyways. Okay, so a diary was found in the victim's room containing an entry dated August 7th. So she actually wrote a diary of what she has to do now, and then she said, picked up Allison 8 p.m. instead of Monday, 8:30 at his I bet you that's supposed to say pick. Like she just wrote picked up. But pick up Allison Sunday at 8 p.m. instead of Monday 8:30 at his residence, at his insistence. I asked if he could drop her off at 8 p.m. at my place, as I had committed myself to service at a residence gathering, but he said, you want her, you always have to pick her up and drop her off. I never will. So right there, it's like, well, why don't you just drop her off at my place at 8 instead of me having to drive over there? And he says, because you want her, you pick her up, because I never will. You see, hopefully you're following along here. It's really interesting if you do. On the evening of Sunday, August 8th, 1982, the victim assisted in setting up the party. So she still wanted to set up that same taco party, the victim, Nancy, at the hotel. Ah, Jesus, what are these weird faces and things people do? All right, you guys, we need 2 more, right? 2 more gifted memberships, or is it 1? I don't know where you, Jim's. No, there it is. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we need 2 more gifted memberships, you guys. Yeah, so the victim was upset by his demand as she had organized a taco party. We just said that. And she wrote in her diary about it. And then it says, on the evening of Sunday, August 8th, the day that she's supposed to go pick up Allison, the victim assisted in setting up the party that she had already had planned between 7:30 and 8 p.m., she informed witnesses, so she was supposed to pick Allison up at 8. So between 8:30 and 8, she informed the witnesses, including friend Melody Mills and resident Howard Histed, that she had to leave briefly to go pick up her daughter Allison from the defendant's residence, but would return shortly. The defendant's residence was a short drive from the hotel. Witnesses provided a precise description of the clothing, and it was brown tweed slacks, long sleeve green or olive blouse with a Peter Pan collar, a tan trench coat, brown sandals, and an aviator-style eyeglasses with a slight tint. Nancy Galvani never returned to the hotel. She never made it back. She just went there for a few minutes because she had to go back to the taco party, but she never came back again. In fact, she was found in the water, wrapped in a sleeping bag, dead the following day. All right, so we have that. And let me show you like where they live and everything. So it's like, this is 1871 where she was picking up her daughter right here in this building. And she just had to drive from right over here. She was at 44 McAllister Street. And here is that building. It's the Civic Center residence. She lived in this residence, and she was supposed to have the taco party there, but she had to leave for a few minutes and just drive that short distance. It's not really that far. And made it to, and she was supposed to go to 1871, and she made it to 1871. Her car was there. It was there. Hey, thanks, Jim Lawn. My girlfriend has both horse teeth and cow teeth. All right, and hey, thanks, Phyllis Watson. Oh, yeah, he did have a plan. Thank you, Phyllis Watson. Hey, they made it to the goal. Awesome. It's a miracle. All right. And then after she drove over there, you guys, she never made it back to the hotel. And then on August 14th, 5 days after the victim's body was discovered in the bay, detectives from the Foster City Police Department executed a search warrant at the defendant's residence located at 1871 Green Street. Upon arrival, detectives were met by the defendant's mother. The defendant was inside the residence, although he initially spoke to officers, claiming he had recently discovered the victim's car in the garage. Really? In his own garage. You know, the same garage that she was supposed to be at, because she went there to pick up her daughter. He requested an attorney when asked for a formal interview. This is back in 1982. The search of the residence yielded critical physical evidence directly linking the defendant to the victim's disappearance. Concealed within a bedroom closet, investigators discovered women's clothing that matched the description of the outfit the victim was wearing when she left the hotel on the night of the murder. I mean, so this has been known for years. How in the hell was there never, this case should have gone to trial 40 years ago. The same clothing that she was wearing. Okay, listen. She's over at her apartment. She drives over there around 8 o'clock. Her car is in the garage, and her clothes is up in the room that she was wearing. Who the hell else would have? It's insane. And then she's found with only underwear on. So who else is doing this other than him? He's the one that called her over there. It's insane, man. The items including a pair of brown and maroon tweed slacks, a tan burgundy trench coat, and brown and white plaid button-down shirt. Additionally, 3 pairs of eyeglasses were found in the bathroom vanity drawer, including the gold-rimmed aviator glasses the victim wore the night of her disappearance. Jesus. How in the hell did this is so stupid. This is why it made me angry, and that's why I made the video a long time ago. The victim's close friend, Melody Mills, was brought to the residence during the search. Mills, described as knowing the victim's meticulous wardrobe well, positively identified the tweed slacks the Burberry coat, and the sunglasses as the exact items the victim wore on August 8th, 1982, just before driving over there. Because remember, she... so let's see, we're on page 5 here. Let's go back up here again, where it said... Let me just see if I can search for that. Oh, is this not text here? Oh, yeah, hold on. Yeah, just a second. Do we get the challenge met there, Jim? All right, let's see. Okay, that's on page 4. So the defendant's residence was a short drive from the hotel. Witnesses provided a precise description of her clothing. Brown tweed slacks, long-sleeve green or olive blouse with a Peter Pan collar and a tan trench coat style coat, brown sandals, and aviator-style eyeglasses, right? And then that's exactly what we have down here. The items included a pair of brown maroon tweed slacks, a tan Burberry brand trench coat, and a brown and white plaid button-down shirt. Additionally, 3 pairs of eyeglasses were found in the bathroom vanity drawer, including the gold-rimmed aviator glasses. You see that? That's crazy. Hey, thanks, Jim Lawn. Very cool, very cool. Thanks, Jim. Thanks for doing a challenge. We've had so few of those. I don't know what they were. We've gone over. Were you here before, Phyllis, when we used to go over this case, like a year and a half ago? It says the victim's close friend, Melody Mills, was brought to the residence during the search. Mills described as knowing the victim's meticulous wardrobe well, positively identified the tweed slacks, the Burberry coat, and the sunglasses as the exact items the victim wore on August 8th. So why the hell this never made it to trial back then is beyond me. Mills, you'd have to believe that she went over to pick up her daughter, and there was some other person in the home that did something to her, put the clothing in the closet, and it's just pure absurdity. Mills specifically noted the slacks due to their unusual brown and maroon color combination. Witness Howard Histed also identified the tweed pants as those worn by the victim upon her departure from the hotel. During the 1982 search, officers also interviewed the couple's 5-year-old daughter, Allison. So Allison, she's been on my show many times, okay? Like, I'd say 3 times or so she came on. Allison identified the sleeping bag found wrapped around her mother's body. When shown the green sleeping bag recovered from the bay, Allison stated, "That's my mommy's," and described the interior liner correctly before even seeing it. Whoa. That's right. It probably shows you why, she's a really smart person. So it's like, even at 5, she was good. She said what the lining looked like before even seeing it. Isn't that amazing? We didn't know that, right? That she actually saw the sleeping bag and said, that's new. That's not something that we knew before. All right. So that's the sleeping bag that she was wrapped in. And by the way, here is, this is Nancy right here. That's Nancy Galvani. I think this is, I don't know if that's Nancy when she's really young or Allison now. I think it's Nancy when she was really young. Could be, jeez, I don't remember. Let's see, do I have any other? I have a ton of, I have her diary and all that. So it'd be cool if it ever goes to trial, we can pull it out and look at it. Yeah. The investigators highlighted significant inconsistencies. Is that where we're at here? Yeah. So, investigation highlighted significant inconsistencies in the defendant's actions the night of the murder. Although he had insisted the victim come to his home. See, listen to this. So again, this is like the crux of it right here. He insisted the victim come to his home at 8 p.m. to pick Allison up. The investigation revealed that Allison was not at the residence. So the daughter, the one that we were just talking about who noticed the backpack, she was not at the residence at this time. In 2008, Allison provided a statement clarifying that on that specific night, the defendant took her to stay at a relative's house, Uncle Pat, which happens to have, by the way, the same first name as her father. This was an anomaly, as she had never stayed there before. So she said, he had me stay there that night, and I had never stayed there before. The defendant had claimed to Allison that he would pick her up that same night, but so basically Pat Galvani, the defendant, claimed that he would pick Allison up over at Uncle Pat Moriarty's house that same night, but later called to say he had broken down. His car broke down, forcing her to stay at Uncle Pat's overnight. I mean, wow, what are the odds, right? She has to stay overnight late into the evening on the 8th and into the 9th because, his car broke down right when her mother's being killed. Boy, what a miraculous timing that is. Witness statements from neighbors further implicated the defendant. Veronica Naples reported seeing the defendant and victim leave the residence in the defendant's Mercedes. All right, so let's go through this slower here. Witness statements from the neighbors, I remember this in the papers, further implicated the defendant. Veronica Naples reported seeing the defendant, Pat Galvani, and the victim leave the residence in the defendant's Mercedes between 11:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. on August 8th. I wonder, Oh, wait, that's in the morning. Earlier in the day. At the time, the victim's vehicle was not in the defendant's driveway. I think this is an error here. I think that's what Allison was, she actually said, I think there's an error in there. I think this is an error right here. This doesn't make sense. I think what they might be saying is that Allison, not the victim, is seen at 11:30 a.m. and 4:30 on August 8th. At the time, the victim's vehicle was not in the defendant's driveway. I'm not even sure what that means. At the time, the victim's vehicle was not in... Okay, however, at 12:10 p.m. on Monday, August 9th, roughly 16 hours after the victim's disappearance, Naples saw the victim's yellow Buick parked inside the defendant's garage with its front bumper flush against the back wall. So her vehicle was inside, I think, the other house on the left. So it was in the 1865, if I remember right. The case, which had been dismissed in 1982 due to insufficient evidence, was later re-examined. In 2008, Allison, now an adult, recounted her memories of the domestic abuse, including the pillow incidents, which witnessed as a child, corroborating the victim's divorce filings. Allison also recounted later episodes of violence by the defendant, including an incident in a hotel on the East Coast when he straddled her, put his hands around her neck, and repeatedly slapped her, causing a black eye. The defendant told her not to tell anyone what had happened because they would take her away from him. All right, you guys, let's see if we can do at least another challenge in there. Right now we're at 60% of the goal. Allison described her recollections of the time frame around the murder. At one point, she heard the defendant talking on the phone with Uncle Pat, making arrangements for her to stay overnight with him. This is remembering that night. She felt hurt that her father was sending her away, which is, Pat Galvani, and she told him that she did not want to stay at Uncle Pat's house. The defendant told her that she would only stay for the day and he would pick her up that night. So when he brought her over to Uncle Pat's house on the 8th, he said, "Oh yeah, you just stay there for that day," and then he'd go pick her up. It was unusual for her to stay at Uncle Pat's house. She waited for the defendant to pick her up, but he called Uncle Pat and told them his car broke down. Allison stayed at Uncle Pat's house that night. The defendant picked her up the next morning, August 9th, 1982. So, right, isn't that amazing? Like, Allison isn't home when she's supposed to be home, to be picked up at 8 o'clock on the 8th, and is put at, taken to somebody else's home and only brought home after Nancy has been killed and disposed of. It's so obvious. It's just unbelievable. This case, it's embarrassing that they didn't prosecute this 40 years ago. Hey, thanks so much there, Phyllis Watson and Lanky Tour. Thank you, guys. Man, this has been a long day today, I can tell you that. I think we're at 5 hours of streaming currently. Or 5.5, actually. We did an hour and a half, then 2 hours, and now we're 2 hours and 7 minutes into this one. So you guys following along on this one? Isn't it interesting? For those who were actually into true crime, this is pretty interesting. All right, let's see. Well, let me know, you guys. Are you guys finding it interesting at all? So, what we're talking about right now is Allison was taken over to her uncle's house, whose name is Pat also. And she wasn't supposed to stay there because she's staying with her dad. But she was brought over to that guy's house and told that she would be picked up later in the afternoon, but he came up with an excuse saying he had car troubles, and then he ended up picking her up on August 9th, which is, so he had that window to kill her. It's crazy. Allison waited for the victim to pick her up from the defendant's house on Monday, August 9th. I don't know if that's correct. Allison waited for the victim to pick her up from... See, that's not correct there either. That should be from Uncle Pat's house. Allison waited for the victim... Oh, no, that's true. That's correct. So on the 9th, she's at home at her dad's house. And she's waiting for her mom. Never mind. So Allison is waiting for Nancy, her mother, to pick her up from the defendant's house, which is Pat's house, Pat Galvani's house, on Monday, August 9th, after she was picked up at Uncle Pat's house and brought home, okay? And then when the victim did not arrive, so when Nancy didn't pick up Allison, so Allison's sitting there and she never shows up, the defendant told her it was not uncommon for women going through a divorce to go missing. Allison recalled hearing a car leave and return to the garage late at night, sometime soon after the victim's disappearance. So it must have been, well, it would have had to have been like on the 9th. Allison said this scared her because the defendant parked his Mercedes next door and only the victim used the downstairs garage for her Buick. So Nancy would pull into the garage to park her Buick. Allison said that she called out for her mother and then searched the house. Let's see. Allison said she called out for her father, Pat, and then searched the house for him, but she could not find him. She went back to bed and eventually fell asleep. She said she woke up a second time to the sound of a car in the garage. She looked out the window and saw, basically, her mother's Buick driving into the garage. She said that she heard someone enter the house and she was terrified but eventually fell asleep. I'm surprised the Dylan Mortensen haters don't jump in and go, hey, well, how could you go to sleep after you were... Yeah. Yeah, that guy, he's a psycho. Yeah, he actually told... I don't know if it's in here, but he told Allison one time, they did a recorded call or something, and she told him, or he told her, hey, I was thinking of killing your mom too, but somebody else did it before I did, a day before. What a loser. There you go. They did you a favor, because she was... Allison confronted the defendant as a young adult. So Allison confronted her father as a young adult and accusing him of killing the victim. Patrick responded in a manner that she perceived as evasive and guilt-laden. Allison told investigators that in February of 2008, when she accused her father, the defendant, of killing the victim, he replied with, "It wasn't my fault." Okay, well, that's what that means. You know that? The police had to go to... What does that mean, Rebecca? The police had to go to Gray's house. What does that mean? I'm not sure what that means. Allison confronted the defendant as a young adult. So, he said, "It wasn't my fault." Well, what he's saying is that, yeah, it is, I did it, but it's just, it's not my fault, On May 19th, that happens to be my mom's birthday, Allison participated in a recorded pretext phone call, so it is in here. I haven't read this yet, with the defendant. During this conversation, he made chilling admissions. He told his daughter, Nancy's death was the best thing that could have happened to you, he told Allison, and stated, the only reason I would have killed Nancy would have been out of protection for you, he further admitted. I would have killed her in one more day had I been given the chance. That's what I was trying to say. Allison brought up the topic of Nancy's Buick ending up at their residence. The defendant responded by claiming that the victim must have returned it, insinuating that the courts or lawyers ordered her to turn the car over to him. Allison asked the defendant about the sleeping bag, and he replied, maybe she met someone and went back, and that's when he killed her, and the sleeping bag was handy. So there was a killer just randomly in your own house when she went to go pick up Allison? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Let's see, that says, during the conversation, the defendant admitted to taking Allison to Uncle Pat's house. So he actually admitted. So here we go. That's a huge element in the case, is that police didn't realize that she had been taken over to Uncle Pat's house until 2008. But in this phone call, he admits to doing it. The defendant admitted to taking Allison to Uncle Pat's house the night of the murder. And the problem was she actually called her dad Pat. Okay? And so when she said I was at Pat's house, they didn't realize that it was Uncle Pat's house and thought that she stayed at Pat Galvani's house, at the time. That's what Allison thinks anyways. I mean, I don't call my dad, hey, Bill, I say dad, At one point, the defendant stated he had car trouble. Well, let's see. Okay, during the conversation, the defendant admitted to taking Allison to Uncle Pat's house the night of the murder. He gave conflicting explanations regarding his whereabouts that night. At one point, the defendant stated he had car trouble, claiming he couldn't pick Allison up because his car broke down. That's what he told her back then. Later, he mentioned being inebriated at a local bar called Perry's in San Francisco. When Allison pointed out the conflict, he stated, they're the same thing. My car broke down, and I got too drunk at a bar. It's the same thing, What? What did you see, Chicken Wing? What happened? Were you okay? In 2024, the Foster City Police Department submitted some physical evidence for modern forensic testing. The ropes recovered with the victim's body were processed for DNA evidence. The results indicated that the rope around the victim's waist had DNA consisting of approximately 70% female DNA with at least one male contributor. A comparison between the defendant's DNA and that on the rope was inconclusive. He could neither be included nor excluded as a contributor. The San Mateo County Crime Lab confirmed the presence of blood stains on the front and back of the brown and white plaid button-down shirt found in the defendant's closet. Interesting. The same shirt identified as being worn by the victim immediately prior to her disappearance. A DNA profile could not be developed from those stains. Yeah, I mean, you're talking 40 years old in a bag. Let's see. Let me see if that other one had the same thing. I mean, it's crazy. There's actually interviews with Pat Moriarty where he tells somebody, yeah, I don't know why they didn't ask me if she was staying over at the house, but never said anything. You know? Like, I have these documents. It's pretty crazy. I mean, so there's a hell of a lot more to it. Probable cause documents are just, you just present 50%, 51% burden, basically. Let me see this one. If there's any extra at the bottom. Oh, that looks a little different. Upbringing, character, statement of facts. Okay, that's the statement of facts. Okay, so they're not, this has nothing to do with the case here. Yeah, that's different. That's not. Huh. Yeah. That's the defense's submission. So they don't have they're not putting in like probable cause information. That'd be kind of stupid. Binder 1. Okay, let's take a look at this. All right, these are look at this huge binder that was given. It's got tons of stuff in it. So I guess that's them. That's Allison. That looks just like Allison, actually. Right there. Like, that's like exactly what she looks like. And that's her mom. And then, I just don't know. I'm pretty sure that is, I don't know. I think that's her mom, actually. Let's see what this one. Yeah, there you go. Try that's I don't know if that's a cousin or if she has a brother or what. And that's probably, like, you know what? I can tell that that's Allison just looking at that picture there. Isn't that weird? I mean, she looks the same. That's what she looks like. That's wild. And then that must be her there. What's that one? Hold on. This is yeah, is that actually Moriarty's home? No, it's 1871 to 1865 McAllister Street. Who's that? Was that Pat Moriarty's home? It's weird how it's 1865. It's the same number. Right there. So maybe that's where... Huh. That's so weird, isn't it? 1865 McAllister. But they actually have an address. 1865 Green Street is one of the other homes that they own. That's weird. What are the odds of that? And why is that in there? Who is that? I wonder if that's where Moriarty lived. And these are pictures of their home and everything. There's a lot of stuff that's not in there. Because there was one person that said they saw the car parked outside. Okay, this is similar to the probable cause right here. On the morning of Sunday, August 8, 1982, Allison was staying at her father's house despite having spent very little time with Allison since the couple separated. Galvani had made arrangements the day before for Allison to spend the night of August 8th with her uncle Pat Moriarty. Allison had never been to Moriarty's house alone before and pleaded with her father not to make her go. Her father told her it was time to go, and they drove across town to Moriarty's. Galvani had promised to return for her on Sunday afternoon. That evening, Galvani finally called to tell Allison that he would not be there to pick her up that night. She did not have a chance to ask him why, but Moriarty told her Galvani's car had broken down and he needed to stay with it so mechanics didn't steal it. Meanwhile, Nancy was at a Civic Center resident hotel at 44 McAllister Street, where she had been living since leaving the women's shelter. She was planning to attend dinner that evening, but the previous evening Galvani had called her and asked her to come pick Allison up at 8 p.m. on Sunday, August 8th, instead of Monday, August 9th. Galvani told her that he had to fly for business at midnight, and so Allison could not spend that night with him. Nancy told her friends at the residence to hold dinner for her. It was that taco party, because she would be right back. She drove away in her yellow Buick at 8:20 p.m. At p.m., a neighbor reported seeing Nancy's car parked outside 1871. That's not in that document that we just read. That the car was parked outside 1871 Green Street. So that was at 8:20. Doesn't that make sense? She leaves at around, she gets there probably at 8, and a neighbor saw it parked outside at 8:20. Nancy herself was never seen alive again. Her time of death was sometime on August 8th. And then Monday, August 9th. The next morning on August 9th at 11:30 a.m., a neighbor saw Nancy's car inside the garage at 1865 Green Street, next door to the building in which Galvani lived. So isn't that crazy? Her yellow Buick was... I mean, this is so clear to me. So look at, here we go. We're right here. 1871 is where Patrick Galvani lived. Okay, and that's where Nancy was supposed to pick up Allison right here. But this garage over here had the yellow Buick in it. You know why? Because police would maybe become looking for Allison over here, and the car isn't there. It's over in this garage. You see? It's just like it's clear what he's trying to do. So it's, so on the 9th at 11:30 a.m., a neighbor saw Nancy's car inside the garage at 1865 Green Street, next door to the building in which Galvani lived. Nancy was nowhere to be found. At 2:37 p.m., fishermen reported finding Nancy's naked body floating near the San Mateo Bridge. At that time, the body was unidentified. Her body was found in a sleeping bag with a rope tied around one end and a 19.5-pound cinder block attached to the other. The cause of Nancy's death was asphyxiation due to strangulation. Ligature marks were found around Nancy's throat. Her body had been in the water between 12 and 24 hours before the fishermen happened upon it. Although Nancy never came to pick up Allison at Galvani's, Although Nancy never came to pick up Allison as Galvani had asked, Galvani failed to report his estranged wife missing. So isn't that another weird thing, right? Think about that for a second. Like, she's supposed to go pick up their daughter at his house at 8 p.m. on the 8th. But guess what? He never shows up. But he never calls anybody to say, hey, she's missing. You know, despite maybe, you know, her car is outside and her clothes is in the closet. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Nancy's friend, then listen, although Nancy never came to pick up Allison, as Galvani had asked, Galvani failed to report his estranged wife missing. Then, Nancy's friend called Galvani on August 11th to ask where Nancy was. So this is, 3 days after she went missing. But Galvani still did nothing. On August 11th and August 12th, the Foster City Police Department released that sketch of the unidentified murder victim to the newspapers. Another of Nancy's friends called Galvani up, insisting that the sketch looked like Nancy Galvani. Finally, reluctantly agreed. So Galvani finally reluctantly agreed to file a missing persons report. Took him all that time, and he just couldn't not do it anymore because somebody said, hey, that looks like, All right, guys, let's see if we can do one more challenge or so out there. Right now we're at about 73%. So we need one more challenge, and actually we need 11 channel memberships would get us to the goal. So that's about it. All right. I don't know. I find this stuff interesting because it's all laid out. I think this is a better job, the way this was written here. I'm not sure. I think she put this together. And as a matter of fact, that 12 to 24 hours, they missed putting that up above the 12 to 24. So finally, on Friday, August 13th at 10:45 a.m., Pat Galvani filed a missing person report with the San Francisco Police Department. His behavior on that day was exceedingly odd. He carried with him a yellow legal pad from which he read. When the police asked him questions, he referred to the pad before answering them. The police asked him whether Nancy had money, and Galvani replied that he had a checking account, and when they sold their property, she would be a rich woman. Galvani told the police that he had found Nancy's Buick in the garage, but didn't say when. Huh. Really? I mean, so that means she made it to your house to pick up her daughter, and then where were you? You were at a bar drunk? And then some other random killer went into the house and killed her, put her clothes in the closet and her glasses in the bathroom, and then left, and then you came home, didn't notice a damn thing, and never called anybody when you saw the car in the garage? Wow. Now that is some crazy shit right there, you got to admit. Oh, yeah. Who's doing it, man? Who's doing the challenge? We need one. Got to try to reach one goal today. We're currently at 6 hours of live streaming, and we're just not a great day, just sort of a normal, even if you combine it all. Nancy's lawyer, so Galvani claimed he called Nancy's lawyer, who was representing her divorce proceedings. Galvani's further claimed that her lawyer told him that it was unnecessary to file a missing persons report. Nancy's lawyer prepared an affidavit noting that Galvani had never contacted him regarding a missing persons report. The FCPD arrested Galvani. So they actually arrested him back on Saturday, August 14th of 1982. After securing a warrant, the FCPD searched Galvani's home at 1871 Green Street. They found at least one set of Nancy's clothing. Man, why wasn't that enough? See, that's what's frustrating about this. Let's see, Galvani. Well, yeah. But Gray, he was framed, don't you know? Galvani was arraigned on murder charges on Tuesday, August 17th. Soon after, Galvani was released on $25,000 bail. He then entered a plea of not guilty on Friday, August 20th. Soon thereafter, charges were dropped. The reasons why are unclear. Well, all right, since you guys aren't doing it, how about I'll do the challenge? I'll do 5 gifted memberships if you guys do 5. Robbing Peter to pay Paul. So if you guys can give 5 memberships, I'll donate 5 myself. He then entered a plea of not guilty on Friday, August 20th, 1982. Soon thereafter, charges were dropped. The reasons why are unclear. Right? It's like nobody knows. It's stupid. The FCPD conducted an investigation into the home that Nancy and Galvani at one point shared at 1871. They also interviewed a number of witnesses. Their investigation, together with the evidence that has subsequently come to light, highlighted a trail of evidence pointing to Galvani's guilt. Nancy's car moves after her death. The FCPD never pinned down why Nancy's yellow Buick moved from one location to another after she had gone missing. Shortly before 8 p.m. on Sunday, August 8th, Nancy drove her yellow Buick to her hotel, from her hotel to Galvani's home. At 8:20 p.m., a neighbor saw the yellow Buick parked there, which it should be, at 1871 Green Street. At 11:30 a.m. on Monday, August 9th, just 3 hours before witness would find Nancy's body in the bay, a residence at 1865 Green saw the yellow Buick inside her garage at 1865 Green. Sometime between Monday, August 9th and Thursday, August 12th, long after Nancy's body had been found, Allison saw the yellow Buick pulling into 1871. So that means it was moved from 1865 and then back into 1871 Green Street. When the police arrived to investigate, the yellow Buick was in 1871 Green. So he probably spent time cleaning the Buick out while it was in 1865. Nobody had access to both garages and Nancy's car except Pat Galvani. Pretty cool, huh? Hey, thanks, Phyllis Watson and Chicken Wing. Yeah, we need 3 more of those. Let's see. The murder leaves behind evidence around and on Nancy's body. Despite the murder's best efforts to cover... These are like documents that Allison gave me a long time ago. Despite the murder's best efforts to cover his tracks, remnants of physical evidence on Nancy's body remain. The sleeping bag in which Nancy was found came from the trunk of Nancy's car, to which Galvani had access. The rope tied around Nancy's body was consistent with rope from a window sash at 1871 Green Street. The FCPD has failed to test the 2 samples of rope. Nancy was found with red fibers under her fingernails. The in-law apartment of 1865 Green, in which Nancy sometimes stayed, had a red carpet. Fingernail clippings were taken from Nancy's body, but have yet to be tested for DNA. The final piece of physical is what came off Nancy's body, her clothes. 2 witnesses who had seen Nancy earlier that evening described the attire in detail to FCPD. That says, the FCPD found an outfit matching the same description in Galvani's home. So we just read that in the official document. Galvani runs out of alibis. I think this is where, there's a lot of interesting, this is all bullet point time frame stuff. I think it refers to, this is 305 pages long. I mean, look at this stuff. You know? And I actually have, look at this. Like these are written, handwritten, like notes from July 19th, 1982. So these are after. I don't remember. Are these part of the should fight? No, these are her. This is from her diary. It's just it's hard to make out. ChatGPT is good at deciphering that stuff, but we went over it one time. I think we slowly went over it. Oh yeah, so maybe some of this is interesting. Affidavit of Edward Snyderman. All right, yeah, I remember this one. This one's pretty interesting. You guys want to see this one? Yeah, they just screwed it up. Right. Hey, thanks, Wild Bill Wassman. Yeah, we need 2 more, you guys. 2 more. My name is Edward B. Snyderman, and I make this statement from personal knowledge. Since July of 2000, I have lived in Boca Raton, Florida. I have worked in the financial industry since 1971. I have received a BS degree in physics. From 1971 through 1981, I worked at Solomon Brothers, an investment banking firm in New York City. January 1974 through July 1975, I attended Wharton Graduate while working at Solomon Brothers. While working at Solomon Brothers, I met and became friends with Patrick Galvani, who was working for the management consultant firm. I just want to move, let me just move it towards the... Okay, so on or around 1982, I became aware through family members that Patrick and Nancy Galvani were having marital discord. I was later informed that a divorce proceeding was initiated, which included a rancorous custody battle over Allison. In August of 1982, my wife, Ann Galvani, telephoned me at work and told me that Nancy Wormbach Galvani had been found murdered. She also mentioned that Patrick Galvani was considered a suspect. My wife suspended her law practice in New York and traveled to San Francisco to take control of her brother's legal defense. She retained the San Francisco criminal defense firm of Keeker and Brockett, and shortly thereafter, Jack Palladino's investigative firm. During my wife's initial trip to San Francisco, Patrick Galvani was arrested on Friday afternoon. At my wife's request, I had my Merrill Lynch broker make $20,000 available at SF office of Merrill Lynch. Payment was made on that Friday. John Keeker put that money in his escrow account, from which he drew a check for the purpose of bail. Patrick Galvani was released that day on bail. Over approximately the next 9 months, my wife would make extended trips to San Francisco to assist Keeker and Brockett in the defense of her brother. My wife was present at the autopsy of Nancy Wormbach, and then, so it's Nancy Galvani, actually, but are we going to get those other 2, you guys? We got to get 2 more so I can donate my 5. At the conclusion of this period, I heard from my wife that the San Francisco police dropped charges against Patrick Galvani. Jeez. So you know that these big-time lawyers came in and just... That's the real reason. On or around May 1985, I was in San Francisco. This is 3 years later. I had dinner with Patrick Moriarty, the uncle. Hey, thanks, Phyllis Watson. Hold on. Chewbacca. I'll eat Chewbacca if you want. My flabber is completely gasted. That's pretty funny. I got excited when I saw my 5 super chats because I thought they were from somebody else. I looked at that and went, oh, because it's over here, it looks different. In StreamYard, it's fuchsia. For 2 years. Nah, he got 35. All right, where were we here? Oh, yeah, so let's go right now. This is 3 years later. So on or around May 5th, 1985, I was in San Francisco on business, and he had dinner with Patrick Moriarty. That's Uncle Pat. So this, you guys remember who that is? Who's Uncle Pat? Uncle Pat is the person that Allison spent the night with on the 8th, while Patrick Galvani was killing his wife, Nancy. So he had dinner with Patrick Moriarty and returned to his apartment for drinks and conversation. That night, Patrick Moriarty and I discussed events surrounding the death of Nancy. Mr. Moriarty informed me that Allison was with him at his apartment the night of Nancy's murder. He said he had been asked to babysit Allison by her father, which is Pat Galvani. Mr. Moriarty went on to say the San Francisco detectives became confused. So he said the San Francisco detectives became confused because Allison referred to her parents by first name. And when asked where she was the night of the murder, Allison replied she was with Pat. The investigator mistakenly assumed it meant Patrick Galvani, according to Mr. Moriarty. Isn't that amazing? Like, that's a real thing that really happened. But I can sort of see that, because what kid calls their parents their first name? And that just isn't normal. So they probably thought, oh, okay, you were with although they would have to know that, though, right? So I guess if she said, I was with Pat, they would go, well, I guess it's the opposite of what I just said. You would think that if she said I was with Pat, they would think it was somebody else, because you're not saying dad. So why wouldn't they then have thought that maybe it was Patrick Moriarty? I don't know, man. That's just... Mr. Moriarty added that if the police had realized Allison was in fact with him and not her father, their investigation would likely have not hit a dead end. Well, absolutely, because Patrick Galvani, told Nancy to come pick Allison up at 8 o'clock that night, and Allison wasn't even at the house. She was with Patrick Moriarty until the next day, and that alone means that Patrick Galvani wanted to have Nancy alone at his house so he could kill her on the late into the evening on the 8th and have no witness. Isn't that insane? Okay. You called your dad John, but his name isn't John, so it made him mad. Yeah. Yeah, then, although normally a very affable and amusing man, Mr. Moriarty had a couple of hot buttons, including abortion and divorce. That evening, in reference to the murder, Mr. Moriarty gratuitously added, "The little whore got what she deserved." Jesus. Following the death of Nancy, I saw or spoke to Patrick Galvani very rarely. I had not spoken to Patrick Galvani since my divorce from his sister in December of 1997. I have never done any business with Mr. Galvani, and aside from posting his bail in 1982, which was repaid, we never had direct or indirect financial dealings of any kind. My divorce from Ann Galvani was not related to her brother. Allison Galvani and I kept in touch since my divorce from her aunt. Our discussion generally centered on her childhood trauma. I did not tell Allison about the comments made by Patrick Moriarty out of respect of her feelings until the middle of 2009. Wow, why didn't you tell her that? That's Jesus. That's ridiculous. When she asked me if I had withheld anything from her. Man, that's such a huge piece of information to just sort of not say. Yeah, this is... Yeah, I mean, there's just so much in these. It just goes on and on and on. But, what are we at here? 3 hours here, hour and 6.5 hours. Number 35 years wasn't enough. Yeah. Well, I think that's it for the, and that's kind of where we're at here. There's a lot more little pieces of information. And if you go back on my YouTube channel and type in Nancy Galvani, you'll see that Allison's come on the show and we talk, and I made a video with her in it. Maybe we can just play that. How about that? Where's that one? Yeah, wow. So I have the is this? No, that's not it. That's weird. It was actually on East Idaho News. Wonder why he was talking about that. That's weird. How did it make it onto that channel? It's wild. Look at that. It's like, I'm right here. If you type in Nancy Galvani, I'm right there. I was like, finally, justice. That was when he was arrested. But then, like, East Idaho News, what would he even... Isn't that weird, though? I got 1.6 thousand. I'm the one that was covering it. And he gets 14, even though that's not great. And he doesn't even know what he's doing on that case. We had it all dialed in. Anyways, it just gets really old after a while, the whole thing. YouTube and... You know what? I don't know if it's just... I can't tell if my mouse died or... What happened right there? Let's see. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, my mouse is frozen there. Let me see if my battery's dead. Yeah, it's Nate Eaton. It just seems strange. Like, what did he have to do with that at all? All right, hold on a second. I gotta get it. That's wild. It actually worked. Yeah. Yeah, the battery died on my mouse, just like right in the middle of that. Isn't that weird? Oh, by the way, remember, you know those shows we've been doing on our my channel about the route and stuff that Nancy Guthrie took with the cameras and comparing it to Annie and everything. Well, there's the channel, the ex-detective guy. They just totally copied and stole my work and pretended it was their own idea on their show. How sick is that? Classic. Let's see. Is this the one? Yeah, I think this is the video right here. Nancy filed for divorce from her husband, Pat. You guys want to watch? I mean, this is my, I've interviewed her in here. Do you guys want to watch this? It's 19 minutes long. And Nancy Wurmbach. Patrick Vincent Galvani and Nancy Wurmbach were married on May 16, 1973. In 1976, Nancy gave birth to a daughter named Allison. She would turn out to be their only child. Like right now. Their marriage eventually began to crumble, and Nancy filed for divorce after incidents of physical violence. They temporarily were awarded joint custody while the divorce worked its way through the system. On August 8, 1982, Pat used their joint custody arrangement to lure Nancy to his residence. Nancy's body was found in San Francisco Bay the very next day. The medical examiner determined Nancy had been strangled to death and her partially nude body had been zipped inside her own sleeping bag. Her body had been weighed down with a 19.5-pound cinder block. In 1982, Nancy filed for divorce from her husband, Patrick. She filed for divorce based in part because of physical abuse she suffered at the hands of Patrick. This abuse was documented by Nancy, Patrick, and their daughter, Allison. First, let's take a look at 2 of the entries in Nancy's diaries.
He grabbed the book from me, became wild, and began beating me with the book. I tried to run away, but he kept hitting me in the face with the book, breaking my glasses. I ran to the bathroom where he kept coming at me saying no divorce, and wildly threw me into the bathtub, where I suffered bruises over my body. The last incidents of beating occurred in April when Pat beat me in front of Allison, causing her extreme distress. She insisted I sleep with her, and brought me Band-Aids for my scratches and bruises. This occurred in April 1982.
In the San Francisco Examiner on August 19, 1982, it states, in her application for the restraining order, Nancy Galvani claimed her husband assaulted her last April after she disciplined their 5-year-old daughter, Allison.
He became furious, threw me to the floor, and struck me with his fist, causing bruises and cuts. I tried to run away from him. He assaulted me again, and then when I started to scream, he put a pillow over my face and held it there for a period of time.
According to a San Francisco Examiner article from August 19, 1982, in a reply to Nancy's allegations, Patrick Galvani seems to confirm what she said by saying,
I put a pillow on her face to quiet her down and to deaden the noise for the neighbors. My wife then conked out.
And here is what Allison remembers of that incident.
So yeah, I heard my parents fighting, and I remember thinking like this is worse than normal, and I ran into my parents' bedroom. My mother was lying on the bed. My father was like straddling her. His knees were like pinning down her arms. And there's this large square Laura Ashley pillow, and he was pressing it over her face. And I was then begging him to stop doing that. He would lift up the pillow and then put it back down. When he would lift it up, I remember saying, like, listen to your daughter, listen to your daughter. I was like begging him to stop. He did stop. And I think that was the final act of violence that she viewed, according to what she told her friends, as an attempted murder, that and that he would have murdered her if I hadn't been there.
And to add more proof of abuse, Nadia Martinelli, who recalled Nancy Galvani telling her sometime in April of 1982 that Pat Galvani beat and abused her. She saw bruises on Nancy Galvani, and that Patrick Galvani had told Nancy, "I'll kill you before you get custody of Allison." And then Nell Tanner stated in a 1982 Foster City Police Department interview by Detective Robert Nelson that Nancy Galvani had confided she was afraid of her estranged husband and had limited contact with him. Because of their joint custody agreement, Allison was staying with her father, Patrick Galvani, the weekend Nancy went missing. On Saturday, August 7, 1982, Patrick Galvani calls Nancy to tell her she needs to pick up Allison by 8 p.m. on August 8th, instead of the morning of August 9th as previously planned. Nancy writes in her journal in advance of things she was going to do. Nancy wrote,
"Picked up Allison Sunday 8 p.m. instead of Monday 8:30 at his insistence. I asked if he could then drop her off at 8 p.m. as I had committed myself to service at a residence gathering, but he said, 'You want her? You always have to pick her up and drop her off. I never will.'"
On Sunday, August 8, 1982, between 7:30 and 8 p.m., 4 witnesses, Melody Mills, Howard Histed, Catherine Merschel, and Nell Tanner, see Nancy leave her Civic Center residence hotel in her yellow Buick to pick up Allison. According to Nell Tanner, on Sunday, August 8, 1982, Pat called Nancy to have Nancy pick up her daughter at 8 p.m. that evening and gave an excuse that he had to fly out on business that midnight. Nancy had expressed frustration at this change in plans since she had been working on the hotel's taco party scheduled for the evening of Sunday, August 8, 1982. Nell Tanner and Catherine Merschel were at the taco party that evening and noted that Nancy had not returned from picking up her daughter. Another witness, Howard Histed, reported the same thing, that he saw Nancy leaving the hotel on Sunday night, and she told him that her husband had asked her to pick up Allison Galvani. Mills recalled being in the resident lobby on August 8, 1982 at about 7:30 p.m. with Nancy, Michael, Diane, and other residents. They were talking, and about 7:30 hours, Nancy Galvani said she had to pick up her baby. Darlene Mills gave similar statement that Nancy told her she had to leave, pick up Allison Galvani at 8 p.m. Sunday evening from Pat Galvani. Kay Fredericks, a tenant of the Civic Center resident, revealed that Nancy Galvani told her she tried to arrange with Pat to pick up Allison earlier on Sunday, August 8, 1982, but Pat Galvani would not let her. Then, on August 8th, Patrick Galvani sent Allison to Patrick Moriarty's house to spend the night. Moriarty is Patrick Galvani's uncle. This is suspicious because Nancy was supposed to pick up Allison at Galvani's house that same evening. Now Allison will not be with Patrick Galvani when Nancy arrives.
I had spent very little time with my father that entire summer, and then he also didn't discuss with me like my mother normally would if I was going to a friend's house, like my age, like a peer, another 5-year-old's house. I just heard him on the phone arranging for me to spend the night Sunday night at his uncle's house. When he hung up the phone, I told him I didn't want to do that. It struck me as odd because I'd hardly seen him all summer. And even though he was fighting for custody of me, then for arranging me to spend the night somewhere else. And I pleaded with him not to send me to his uncle's house. And he said, as a compromise, I would go to his uncle's house just for a few hours, and I wouldn't have to spend the night. But then once he had me at Uncle Pat's house, it was getting darker and darker, and he wasn't coming to pick me up the way I expected he was. A telephone call came in. My Uncle Pat spoke to my father and then relayed to me when he hung up the phone, "Oh, your dad's car broke down. He can't get you today after all, so you have to spend the night." And I remember saying, like, well, can't he take a taxi to get me? And Uncle Pat said, "Oh, no, he has to stay with the car to make sure the mechanics don't steal it."
The fact that Allison stayed with Patrick Moriarty on the night of the 8th is corroborated by an affidavit of Edward Schneiderman. The affidavit discusses a conversation between Schneiderman and Patrick Moriarty on or around May of 1985. Schneiderman states,
Mr. Moriarty informed me that Allison was with him at his apartment the night of Nancy's murder. He said he had been asked to babysit Allison by her father. Mr. Moriarty went on to say the San Francisco detectives became confused because Allison referred to her parents by first name, and when asked where she was the night of the murder, Allison replied she was with Pat. The investigator mistakenly assumed it meant Patrick Galvani, according to Mr. Moriarty. Mr. Moriarty added that if the police had realized Allison was in fact with him and not her father, their investigation would likely have not hit a dead end.
My father had requested that I call him Pat and also my Uncle Pat, and
that's how they work.
So I didn't refer to my father as Dad. I called my mom Mommy, but I called my father Pat. And then the uncle was also Pat.
And then, on August 9th, 1982, a day after Nancy Galvani was supposed to pick up Allison at Patrick Galvani's house, the nude body of an unidentified woman was found floating in San Francisco Bay off the San Mateo Bridge. The body was zipped in a sleeping bag, weighed with a concrete block. The woman's ankles were tied with white boating line, according to Foster City Police. The block was tied around the bag at the woman's waist. County coroner officials said today the woman had strangulation marks on her throat. There were no apparent stab marks or gunshot wounds. The woman, said to be 28 to 40 years old, had been in the water up to 2 days, according to Foster City Police Chief John J. Norton. The barely submerged body was found where the high-rise section of the bridge clips at the East Bay side. The 5'7" woman with reddish-brown hair weighed about 160 pounds. There were no identifying marks on the body. And then in another article, an autopsy has revealed that strangulation killed the woman whose nude body was found floating in San Francisco Bay in a sleeping bag weighed with a concrete block. The woman may have been strangled by hand or by a length of white 1/2-inch boating rope of the type that was also tied around her waist, apparently as a handhold, Foster City Police said, for carrying her. A length of similar boating line was tied around the foot of the zipped green sleeping bag. A concrete construction block was tied to the woman's waist. Police were unable to establish the woman's identity yesterday. They expected results of fingerprint checks with the FBI and the State Department of Justice today. The autopsy showed that the woman suffered a broken neck and was bludgeoned on the left side of her head. She also sustained wounds on her left hand that may have been caused when she tried to defend herself from her attacker or attackers. So the papers had put out a sketch, and as you can tell, that sketch was later identified to be Nancy Galvani. And the reason that somebody identified Nancy is as follows. Although Nancy never came to pick up Allison as Galvani had asked, Galvani failed to report his estranged wife missing. Nancy's friend called Galvani on August 11th to ask where Nancy was, but Galvani still did nothing. On August 11th and August 12th, the Foster City Police Department released sketches of the unidentified murder victim to the newspapers. Another of Nancy's friends called Galvani, insisting that the sketch looked like Nancy. Galvani finally reluctantly agreed to file a missing persons report. Thursday, August 12, 1982, at 9 p.m., an individual with the initial CM called Patrick after seeing a sketch in the newspaper that looked like Nancy Galvani. Asked if Pat Galvani had heard from Nancy, Pat Galvani stated no. Pat told her he found Nancy's car in his garage that day, but did not know how long it had been there. CM suggested that Pat Galvani file a missing person report. Pat seemed reluctant, but said he would the next day. On Friday, August 13, 1982, at 10:45, Pat Galvani filed a report with the San Francisco Police Department. You would think, however, that he would have filed a report earlier, since she apparently would have never came by to pick up Allison, the daughter that they both shared, that he had sent somewhere else that night, even though he knew Nancy was supposed to pick her up. And Nancy's vehicle was in one of Patrick's garages. So on August 8, 1982, the same night that Allison was supposed to be picked up by her mother Nancy, but Allison was over at her uncle's house, Nancy's vehicle was spotted in the driveway of 1871 Green Street, the house that she once shared with Patrick. Now, Mrs. Mead observed the vehicle being parked there. She claims she saw Nancy's white over yellow car on Sunday, August 8th at about 8:20 p.m., parked in front of 1871 Green Street. Miss Mead recalled it because she had just returned from a movie and was looking for a parking spot. Subsequent reports indicate the Foster City Police Department confirmed the movie in theater Mrs. Mead stated she was at that evening. Patrick Galvani owned two residences, 1871 and 1865 Green Street. The 1871 address is where Nancy Galvani's vehicle was seen on August 8th at around 8:20 p.m. However, the very next morning, one of the tenants, Miss Leonardis, who lives at 1865 Green Street, noticed that Nancy's vehicle was parked in the garage at 1865. So because Nancy Galvani went missing and was killed that evening, it seems like common sense that Patrick Galvani is the one who moved the vehicle into the other property that was being rented at 1865, and he was living at 1871. So it makes you wonder why he moved the vehicle from the driveway to the other residence. Later in the evening on the 9th, the same day that Miss Leonardis saw Nancy's vehicle parked in the garage under 1865 Green Street, Allison observed the same Buick being moved into 1871 Green Street late in the evening. Obviously, it's Patrick moving the vehicle from 1865 Green Street to 1871 Green Street because Nancy isn't alive at this point.
After I spent the night at Uncle Pat's house, then the following night, I was already in bed asleep, and I heard like very slowly, the hum of an engine, and I looked outside my shutters and I saw the tail end of my mother's Buick going into the garage at 1871, and I ran to my I was terrified. Like I had a sense it wasn't my mother coming to pick me up. It was in the middle of the night. I ran to my father's bedroom, but he wasn't there, and I was just remember being absolutely terrified.
And some interesting information regarding Nancy's clothing. The Foster City Police Department found what was determined to be Nancy's clothing and glasses matching that described the day before by Howard Histed and Melody Mills. We know that Nancy's body was found partially nude, and they actually found the clothing she was wearing before she left to go pick up Allison, and observed by various people wearing at the house. They brought both of these witnesses, so they brought Howard Histed and Melody Mills to the Green Street address, where both stated the clothes at the house were the same as those that Nancy was wearing when they last saw her on Sunday evening, August 8, 1982. So now we have Nancy's vehicle that was being moved around from 1865 to 1871 garages, and we have her clothing inside the house of Patrick Galvani. Now, here is an interesting piece of How has this ever information dropped told by as a Allison. case? How her father had already enrolled her into a different school while Nancy was still alive and told Allison about it, but also told Allison not to tell her mother.
When my mother was still alive, my father registered me at a different school.
Oh, yeah. What about that
and
part?
told me not to tell my mother. She was murdered then just a couple weeks later, and he had me go to the new school he had enrolled me in.
Years later, Patrick Galvani stated in a recorded interview,
He said, you know, if he had done it, he would have done it for me, and he was planning it, but he was going to kill her the next day, but someone beat him to it, so therefore he didn't kill her.
yeah. Great, isn't that great? And then not too long after this and everything, you know, all of these videos and everything led to putting pressure on the San Francisco Police Department, and then they looked into the case and they finally arrested the father. And now, see, that's what we do on this channel. You know, you get people like the JLRs of the world who run around as ambulance chasers, do absolutely nothing to solve or help in any case whatsoever. But boy, you guys sure love watching it. Anyways, not you guys, but you know, the ones. So we actually made a difference in this one. Again, we had another case that some of you didn't see, but you want to hear something crazy? Now, for some reason, I can't remember the name of the case, but it was a case where this guy was in his living room. You know, I'm sure they were doing drugs and whatever, meth and so forth. And then he had his face blown off. It was literally like just, you know, blown off by a guy in the house. The medical examiner ruled that it was a suicide. And I saw all the facts in the case. I saw the guy who actually was holding the gun when it shot him in the face, and everything. And it was one of the most ludicrous things. The medical examiner said in the case that he should have been able to, because he was on meth, which is a stimulant, he should have been able to protect himself, so therefore it's suicide. And I thought, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So what you could do is inject people with meth, shoot them, and go, up, they did it to themselves. Because when the guy who shot him, the guy who actually pulled the trigger, he said that he put the gun to his face, and then the guy's wife came up behind and grabbed his arm, and it fired and shot him in the face. Well, doesn't that immediately take it out of the realm of suicide? I mean, if anything, it's manslaughter or some sort of negligence at that moment, right? But they didn't do that. So I made this whole video putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, and they eventually, this is pretty bizarre, I got to tell you. I made the video, I put it out there, and I sent it to the detective in the case. About a week after I sent it to him, I get my phone's ringing, I pick it up, and the detective told me that they have changed it to undetermined. And he called me before the family to tell me that. And then I called up the sister of the victim and said, hey. And she was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then eventually the guy actually got arrested, and I think he got charged with something later. Okay, so there we go. There's another one. So we actually make a difference here. You get the difference? And not only that, my channel's donated $297,000 to true crime-related charities. And you know what's weird is people would rather watch the losers out there that only do sensationalistic garbage. And man, could you imagine if we were one of those? What if we were the channels that got 500,000 views on a video? Oh my God. We would be making such huge difference, but it just isn't the case. They don't care. YouTube doesn't promote the channels who don't put out the stuff that everybody's craving, even if what we're putting out is the right information. They don't care. All right? So anyways, it's I'm proud of all that stuff that we've done. And there's been many other cases. There was one, Mattis, what was her name? Chuck and a Maddie something or other. In that case, I was communicating with the boyfriend, and the detective actually got a hold of me from the show, and he said, hey, can you ask him specific questions, etc.? But I asked him questions. And after talking to the sheriff, I go, wait a minute. She actually got into a car with some random, this is not, the boyfriend had nothing to do with it. That's what I'm thinking. So then I started covering it differently. Like the boyfriend had nothing to do with shit. And it turns out that this Maddie Bell, I think it was her name. She jumped into a car at a church and then drove away with the guy. And then eventually she, turned herself in and said, okay, and then got back together with the boyfriend. I mean, it was the dumbest thing in the world. But, at least we were talking to him. And there's been many cases where I put together, really interesting, compelling stuff in a certain way. And law enforcement, people send it to them, and then eventually you see it in their presentation later. Like I tell you what, in the Delphi case, we've said a million. I was the one that coined the phrase that Richard Allen is bridge guy. That's all that matters in the case. I literally said that on every show for months after he was arrested. And then when the trial starts, that's exactly what they said. That's exactly how they framed it, exactly the same way, that Richard Allen is bridge guy. And that's all you need to know in that case, is because nobody else can be bridge guy other than him. And that's what these idiots out there that still try to defend Richard Allen don't realize, is that it absolutely 100% is him. Hey, thanks, DeBlanc. Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, so we made a big difference. Over the years, we've made a difference in a lot of different cases. They don't get publicized. Nobody seems to care. And by the way, nobody seems to care that like, for example, here we go. We've put $115,000 out of the income to the channel into a DNA fund for identifying Jane and John Does. We pay money to these places that don't have the money, and they identify Jane and John Does. And I have 6 cases that we've identified the victim. One of them was a serial killer victim who killed 11 people. There was only one that was never identified, and we had that person identified. Unfortunately, the family didn't want her name put out there, though. But the family got to know she was a sex worker, found in a hotel. They just didn't want that information out there with the name. We also did Daniel Armentrout. We did the Peak 6 Colorado case. We did the guy in the lake that weighed himself down, shot himself as he was in the water, and then sunk with the weights he had on him. We did that one. Man, there's just been so many of them. So, it just kind of sucks, the position that we're put in over here. Like, YouTube doesn't put out our notifications. Look at 99 people watching. I mean, it's just, it's freaking really disappointing to me. A channel that actually tries to make a difference, and then all they care about is putting out garbage, promoting garbage YouTube. It's crazy. So anyways, there you go, everybody. That's it. Man, I wish we'd had a better night in here, but we just sort of, every show was a struggle again. I got Wild Bill Wassman. Thanks for all your support all day long. That was very kind of you. 6 Kids UK, Katie's Corner, new member. Then we had Wild Bill Wassman, Alley Cake, Wild Bill Wassman, Lanky Tor, 77 months of pure hell, right, Lanky Tor? And then Wild Bill Wassman, and then Lanky Tor with the... Would have been nice to have a few more of those. We would have kicked some ass today. We had a cat eye donation. Really, I guess that one's the avocado dance. And let's see. Then we had Armadillo. She said, I didn't mean to get sideways with you yesterday. I didn't even remember the incident. So we don't try to keep things going along. Wild Bill Wassman, and then Wild Bill Wassman, then Alley Kick, then MSM Liars, then Breeze Girl 2087, Cheryl Bullock, Jim Lawn, Wild Bill Wassman, Jeffrey Siddall, then I became a new member, and then gifted a membership, then Wild Bill Wassman, Jeffrey Siddall, Horse Teeth, Cow Teeth, one of the best names on YouTube, Jim Lawn, then Phyllis Watson, and then Jim Lawn gifted 5, then Wild Bill Wassman, and then Phyllis Watson again, gifted 5. Then we had Lanky Tor, Phyllis Watson gifted 1, then Chicken Wing, Wild Bill Wassman, Phyllis Watson, and then myself gifted 5. But we didn't really even make the goal really on this show, nor did we make the goal on any of the other shows, but combined together, they made it over the goal. But that took 7 hours of YouTube to do. That's just, I can't do that, you know. That's a lot, that's too much YouTube. Jim Lawn's golf ball's muddy. He's trying to, like, do something from yesterday. Anyways, hope you guys found the show interesting, at least. All right? Hope you guys, found it interesting. I guess we'll see you tomorrow. Who the hell knows what tomorrow will bring? But anyways, thanks for those who were able to support the channel, etc. Yeah, that was a really long day. And just a final word, I think 35 years, given the fact that you get parole opportunity and 50% of that doesn't make sense in the Karmelo Anthony case. He should have got, I would say, 65 years, and then when he's 47 or 8, he maybe has a shot to get out. I mean, it's just, but at this point, he might be out at 35, which is, to me, is just absolutely absurd, you know. Doesn't make any sense. And thank you, Phyllis Watson, and thank you, Lakey Tor, and thanks again, always to Wild Bill Wassman, who, kept us kind of rolling along all day. So thanks, Wild Bill. I didn't see Jason Bourne in here tonight, but oh well. Thanks, everybody. We will see you guys tomorrow, but who the hell knows what tomorrow will bring. Thanks for watching, and as I always say, until next time, be safe out there. Is that gonna work? Oh wait, there we go. You like that Jody Arias part there, Lanky Tor? Did you see that? A drumstick. Yeah. Phyllis is funny as hell, man. All right, thanks everybody. See you guys later. Oh, by the way, did you see that one part where the detective's drawing? Let me just, that was one of the coolest videos I ever made and creative. There's not another YouTuber that would even think of it. So what they had was Jody Arias and the detective were drawing out on a piece of paper a map of the bedroom and where things happened. So what I did was I had a piece of paper right where the detective's hand was going, and then followed it along and drew the hallway, the bath, all of it was right there. And then it showed her story of where she said people were in her made-up story. That was a good one. That was a good one. You guys go back and watch my old Jody Arias videos. They're pretty good. That was Flores, yeah.